believe so.
37 minutes after what you said it would be.
Yeah. Welcome.
I said around 10.
Around 10, yeah. You sent me a message at 10, like, hey, I'm 48 minutes out. All right, here we go. Welcome to the Fast Life Podcast. I guess I'm supposed to look at the camera. Which is brought to you by my choice of helmets, Simpson Motorcycle Helmets. Head on over to simpsonmotorcyclehelmets.com. Check out all the models, finishes, and visor options, and get yourself dialed in with one of the best helmets on the market. Yes, sir. There you go. BoostedBrad.com is a great place to find some badass products for your motorcycle, such as bar and riser setups, pegs, mid-controls, and quick detach sissy bar setups for FXRs and early model Dynas. Brad has a product for any budget. Check out all the products and badass apparel. Use Fast Life at checkout and save yourself 5%. And don't forget to follow Brad on Instagram at BoostedBrad. John Jessup's Dream Rides is a spot if you're looking for a spot, I guess. I'm dyslexic, so I'm fucking suck at reading. When I'm doing it on there, I can actually redo it.
You're smart enough to have notes in it all.
Dude, I'm only doing this because like I'd be on my phone trying to do it otherwise. Let me try this again.
It's smart.
John Jessup's Dream Rides is
What's up, Jessup?
If you're looking to have anything done to your Harley Davidson. His shop in Stockton, California is the spot for in-house dyno tuning, parts, service, and bike sales. And if nothing else, head on over to teamdreamrides.com, which is offering 100 days same as cash financing on all products. All you need is a job and a bank account. Don't forget to give John and his team a follow at DreamRidesJohn on Instagram. 3 more. Lexan Moto is growing fast and looking to onboard new dealers in 2020. So whether you're a small independent shop or a 20,000 square foot mega store, Lexan Moto has a partnership that will work for you. With awesome new gear and more on the way, Lexan offers very competitive dealer margins, fast shipping, and great customer service. Email them at sales@lexanmotorcycle.com and be sure to check them out on Facebook at Lexan Moto USA and Instagram at Lexan Moto. Don't forget to use offer code FASTLIFE at checkout and save yourself 15% off the entire order. 2 more. Or 3 more. I don't know. Hold on.
Damn, cha-ching!
Hey, gotta pay the bills. Paint Huffer Metal Flake is the flake of choice by many, if not all, painters across the world, around the world, across the country, around the world, right? Check out painthuffer.com to see the vast amount of color options and many other products to help you in the custom paint process. And don't forget to use FastLife12 at checkout to save yourself 10% off. And follow them on Instagram at Paint Huffer Metal Flake. If you're looking to upgrade your Harley this winter-ish, spring coming.
It's winter in most places.
One of the best mods you can do is the ThunderMax computer upgrade. Its ability to auto-tune to your bike's upgrades and riding conditions without the need of a dyno make it a great product. ThunderMax is your go-to for reliable performance. To check out their ECM applications and many other products to give your Harley-Davidson some new life, head on over. Stop that. Head on over. It's a run-on sentence, right?
I don't know.
Head on over to shoptmax.com.
Don't ask me grammar questions.
And follow ThunderMax EFI on Instagram. Last one. And then we're good.
You can keep, dude. I'll shuffle some more your way.
Big Bear Performance is the go-to for high-quality performance products for your FXR, Dyna, Softail, and performance baggers. Along with being the industry leader in Olin suspension sales, service, and tuning, check out BigBearPerformance.com, and you can always give Kevin a call and get the info and answers for your motorcycle's upgrades at 909-479-7788.
Now it's my turn. MCShopTees.com, your t-shirt of the month club. The only way to support every local motorcycle shop.
There you go.
Danger Dan at checkout will get you $10 off your first month. Jace, what's up, dude?
What's up, man? This is weird, dude.
This is the Fast Life Garage, right?
Yeah,
The Fast Life Podcast Studio.
It's the studio. I didn't know if I should call it studio, though. I didn't know if that would be a...
Dude, if you're fucking putting fuzzies in the corners to get a better sound, it's a studio.
It's a fucking studio.
Yeah. I mean, look at this microphone.
Now, I wanted to, I don't know, man, like, doing all this shit, like, do you have goals yourself, like, as far as where you want to take the podcast? Or, I mean, do you think like that? As far
I
as
definitely have goals.
Yeah.
And this might be one of them.
Mm-hmm.
No, it definitely is like having a nice space at the house at some point.
Yeah.
The video, I don't know if that's much of a goal of mine.
Yeah.
I did some shit this weekend, and it was, it was a good learning experience. It reminded me as to why I do my show the way I do it, because it's so fucking easy just setting up microphones and recording, not having to worry about any kind of visuals or streaming it live with like lag time and,
Yeah, I hope it's working.
hearing people comment. Like, I was just like, fuck.
Well, that was the thing. I didn't want to, I was doing practice runs on this, just like me and my brother just trying to set it up. And I didn't really have any intentions of doing it live and actually interacting with whoever was commenting.
Yeah, thank God. Because
I've made the mistake before in podcasts where, you're all, we're all loose, maybe drinking or something, and we think, oh, let's go live on Instagram right now, and it kills the conversation every time, no matter what. It feels like a great idea because you feel like you're letting someone into the conversation, but absolutely not. It just,
just having somebody else in the room, is like kills it for me. I'm like, fuck, why don't you just come on over here? Like, don't not be a part of this conversation.
Or what about when you're doing a podcast with somebody and their chick comes and she just hangs out in the corner on her phone the whole time? You ever had that yet?
I don't let them do that.
Yeah, it's awkward.
I just shut that shit down, dude. I just we probably shouldn't do a podcast today.
Yeah, that's weird too, because I've actually gone to places and gone into the shop, on a bike trip across country. I guess I should switch the camera. I don't know. Gone into a bike shop across the country, rode my bike, show up, let's do a podcast, and there's so much going on. I'm like, yeah, dude, this, I don't even feel like the atmosphere in here is podcast worthy. Everybody here would need to be still, shut the fuck up, or go to lunch for 4 hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to ask of businesses at that time, but it's fuck, man. How else I'm trying to provide you this opportunity to talk about who you are, your brand, your story. Can you just calm the other shit down for a couple of hours?
No, that's one thing I learned going to other places and doing these interviews. I like to be in other people's comfortable places, so that they're comfortable. But then it's not comfortable for me. I don't know if you remember early on, I went to that dude's place in Colorado. He lived off the grid in this little bitty shack on an old wood mill that it didn't have power. Mm-hmm. Everything ran off of old Detroit diesels. And during the podcast, I realized that this guy hasn't talked to anybody in years, or not maybe not years. That's a bit much, but he hadn't had anybody to talk to. He'd been living out there by himself. The other people would come into work, but he never got to talk to him, and he'd never left the place at the property. So when I put a microphone in front of his face and started talking to him, next thing I know, he's just he's talking. He's not even responding to me. He would slow down and stop talking so I could talk, but then he'd just keep talking. Never would just
no
kept
social
going.
Cues, basically.
Dude, it was so strange. And then all of a sudden, this fucking come to find out it was a wood rat this big ran behind him, and I could see it. And I was just what the fuck? I realized getting in other people's comfort zones means that I may not be comfortable.
Yeah.
Which is hard because I gotta kind of manage the conversation. And if there's fucking wood rats, they're the size of my dog running around in the small room we're in. It's kind of tough.
You've actually, I feel like you found some of the most, along with some of guys like Roland Sands, you've also found guys like that are just so far off. How do you even find that to even get that conversation? It seems like you look for the most obscure type thing to bring onto the podcast.
I'm definitely attracted to that.
Yeah.
That guy, he didn't even ride motorcycles.
Yeah.
I was just fascinated by him living in a shack in the mountains, and I happened to be driving through there on the way to, God, I don't even know what I was doing. But, yeah, I talk to everybody. That's what I like. I don't like to have any, I've set up my show and my t-shirt business for that matter to not have any borders, to where I don't even I didn't start my podcast to be a motorcycle podcast.
Yeah, that was kind of something that I ended up hearing. You did a podcast with that American Roadrunner guy or something like that, or was it
Bob Marshall?
And I listened to that one, and I think you kind of tapped on that because when we did our first podcast with you, you completely like
shut down.
Podcast inceptioned us. So we were pretty much just being reverse podcasting the whole time. So, but then when I heard that one, yeah, I did hear you say like, you know, you were just kind of, you know, hearing Joe Rogan tell everybody to do a podcast, and you're like, fuck it, I'll do it. But I mean, you're connected to the motorcycle industry.
Yeah,
so
I mean, I just like motorcycles,
natural.
so it just drifted that way. Now that I've started selling ad spaces, you know, like one thing they've said is like, you know, we'll sponsor this many shows as long as they're all motorcycle people, you know, like, and I just tell them to fucking kick rocks, you know. Like,
Yeah.
you don't get to decide who I'm having on my show. If that's what it takes, then
I try to do it like monthly, and it's just, you know, just whatever I'm doing. Like I keep everything as close to motorcycles as possible, but like last month I did one with my a good friend of mine that actually did military contracts. Like he was overseas doing, you know, Blackwater and Triple Canopy, all those little, you know, Jason Bourne type shit things. And I just wanted to have him on because I thought his stories were interesting, talking about being in Afghanistan and Djibouti, Africa, which I didn't even know was fucking a real place.
Yeah.
And just listening to him talk about that, like I wanted to share that conversation. And you kind of need that because, I mean, think about it. How many motorcycle guys have you interviewed and kind of heard the same story or the same path? And you got to find a way to keep this shit interesting for years to come. And so by being pigeonholed into just one area can kind of ruin the podcast, in my opinion, sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, that's our job, right? Is to like keep it interesting.
Exactly.
Stay on topic to some degree, which, you know, everybody on my show I've pretty much met now through motorcycling, whether they're in the industry or not, it's a different story, but some way or another, I've met them from riding my motorcycle. So, you know.
I guess I should use my notes I made for you.
You made notes for me? Come on, dude. Give me these fucking notes, dude. Over 3 years. No, I'm just kidding. I don't want to read my own.
Well, you started basically about just over 3
years.
years
Do you do notes for everybody?
No, just you.
Come on, you do notes. That's awesome.
Well, I didn't know if you were going to fuck around this time or not. I needed shit to keep you on course.
I'm definitely going to fuck around.
No, I mean, there's a lot of shit you've done. I mean, in the almost 3 years that I think I've known you, like from the days of chilling at Chopper Supply Co. doing podcasts to you going to fucking Nepal, is that where it was? And going to the Himalayas, like, we have to cover this shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean,
a lot's happened.
Exactly. So, you know, like I said, you started this thing 3 years ago, and you just grinded it. You know what I mean? Like, that's one thing that I would say that, like, your podcast, and I've taken note from, is just the consistency of doing it. And that's what kind of makes us relevant in the podcast motorcycle scene, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that was one thing I started from the get-go was setting this up so that it was going to be easy to do for a long, where I was going to be able to continue to do it, you know, like, you know, I'm tough with making commitments and I'm scatterbrained and, you know, I like all sorts of shit and I do a little bit here and a little bit there. So knowing that and knowing that starting the podcast, like I wanted it to be consistent. So I made it as easy as possible. You know, I just used gear that I had. All my editing gear is just shit that I could get for free in case like something happened and I needed to edit a show on the road on somebody else's computer. I could just get the stuff for free or the microphones I use to, I mean, just the way I structure it, I've made it so that it's easy for me. I don't edit stuff, you know, like I just put it all up there. Even like now with my intros, I've been, you know, so the first, I don't know, 3 or 4 podcasts I did, the intros, I would record an intro and then I'd listen to it and I'd fucking trash it, right? Delete it because I'm like, that's terrible.
Yeah.
So then I realized like, well, if this is gonna work every week, like I can't spend 2 hours working on an intro. So I just decided I would just do the intro and use it the first take every single time, and I did that for I don't know, probably 2 years or more. Hell, I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I did too. Because the first couple ones I would listen to it, go, fuck, I'm an idiot, or I sound like shit, or that didn't make sense, and you spend 2 hours literally recording and deleting, and then you just get nowhere with that.
Yeah,
you know. But
I don't do that.
I stopped listening to my podcast like after I do them.
Oh, yeah.
Unless there was a conversation that took place that was very something I wanted to reconnect to, like hear again. But going back and listening to my own podcast every time, I get so much anxiety listening to myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That too. But just the time it would take, like if you're going to spend 2 hours talking to somebody and then listen to it for 2 hours, like that's 4 hours. Like obviously there's a lot of hours in a week, but I've done everything, or I started doing everything in a way that I thought would be the easiest way to continually do it or keep doing it without, hating life or it feeling like a job that I didn't want to go to.
Yeah. So what do you think, like, over these last 200 plus episodes now, like, what do you think has been like one of the biggest changes of how you've seen things, like from when you started to now? Like like one thing you picked up through this process is the hooligan racing and shit like that. So what I'm kind of asking is like how much have like conversations changed the direction of what you wanted to do in your life?
I think now, honestly, the biggest thing that's changed, not just the conversation, but who I have the conversation with. Like people ask me, they want to start a podcast. What's one of the most difficult things? And I'm like, well, continuing to do it, doing it every week. And like early on, I would plan out weeks ahead of time, like who I was going to talk to so that I could keep, and I would have, a number of people that I was aware of that I wanted to speak to. Now there's like, the list is so huge. I don't even know who to pick to, I'm not even sure who to talk to next week.
Yeah.
I have one podcast recorded that was a great one I did with Jeff Milburn, who's a stunt car driver.
Yeah.
And I have 2 set up, but I don't plan his head as much anymore.
Yeah.
The people I talk to, dude, I just don't even, I don't know. It seems like it's the same to me. Like, it's just people that I've met in the industry. I always want to go back and, like, talk to people that I've already had on. And then, or, like, the people around town. I'm like, oh, I'll wait till wintertime and talk to the people around the area that I can travel to easily, even if it's rainy like it is now. But then I just get distracted and...
Well, I mean, shit, dude, like...
It's still the same shit show it was in the beginning. Like, not a lot of direction. There's just more places to go now.
Yeah. Well, I noticed that, like, with the traveling that you've been doing, too. I mean, it went from, I remember when you were kind of running around here, I mean, that's when you brought me on. You know what I mean? Like,
we need, like, one of these buttons where you're just like, I got the camera.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm like, I don't even want to be on the camera. But
if I had to watch it right now, I would just close the laptop.
But I wanted to, like when you brought me on, that's what got me into podcasts, right? I heard about it. I remember before I met you, before you brought me on the podcast, I remember like I used to go on YouTube and watch like clips of Joe Rogan, like do a monologue or something or blah, blah, blah. But I never really like fully would listen to a podcast because the first time I'd be like, fuck, that sounds really cool what Joe Rogan said. What episode was that? And I go look at the episode, it's 3 hours. I'm like, yeah, I ain't fucking sitting here for 3 hours.
Yeah.
I didn't understand the concept of it. I didn't understand the place to listen to it or how to listen to it. You know what I mean? And then whenever I did it with you and then I listened to mine, like we all do when we first do a podcast with somebody, I listened to it, and the next thing you know, I'm like, okay, fuck, I'll listen to this one too, and this one, and this one. And actually, I think I started listening to some of them once you asked me to do it so I can understand
what we're doing.
You know what I mean? And then
I tell people, I'm like, don't listen to it ahead of time. If you haven't listened to the show, don't start listening to it just because I asked you to be on in a couple weeks. Like, because then, it's a weird dynamic. But, yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things where I haven't tried real hard to do video, even though I know it would probably help out a lot. The majority of my listeners, I believe, from the people I've talked to, are people that are working, 40 to 60 to 70 hours a week. And, 80% of that time, they got headphones in their ears, and they can listen to something else that kind of distracts them from the work they're doing or is just different from the music. Because, once you get to a certain age, you don't listen to new music.
Yeah.
Right? So when your music... The music that you listen to, like, you're not taking in any new music. It's only the shit that you've heard before in the past. You can only, like, dive into so many other genres besides what you grew up listening to hear old music that you enjoy. And then you just get tired of that. Or, like, And I feel like there's also a spot now for like a DJ, because just to play stuff that you may not go listen to, like somebody who's good at curating music together that you could put on a podcast where like he's literally just playing music that you trust this guy's opinion. Because like the job of a DJ is like almost gone. Like you don't listen to new music because the DJ says this is a new band you should hear. Like that's.
That's one thing about like with yours, like when you would do the road shows originally, and you would have like these songs on it. Some of them I've never heard of, and some of them like, fuck, that song is like perfect to hear right now. Along with the stories of like the stops and shit.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've always enjoyed the road shows. You know what I mean? Especially the music, and it's shit that I wouldn't even listen to normally. But I'm like, fuck, it sounds good in this situation.
Yeah, it works. So. That was that road show idea. I don't know how long I can keep doing it the way I do it. I've tried to do it some other different ways because I obviously am not paying to use the music that I use.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. But that idea, that was just a harebrained idea I had. I'm going to Florida on a shitty old chopper that I just built, know. Why don't I record whatever happens, And
that's what's scary about all this shit, like this YouTube stuff, this music shit, all this copyright stuff. Like, that's why I don't have any fucking shirts with logos on it. I mean, I got one here, but you know what I mean? Because, like, I overthink things. And so, like, I'm looking at all this shit on YouTube trying to understand what I can and can't do, what would demonetize me or whatever the case may be. Not that I'm concerned about making money through YouTube, but I don't want them to shut my shit down because there's stuff on it that's,
you don't want to go through the effort and then.
Yeah, and then it doesn't work, Like, the worst thing about, like, all this stuff, or not I don't even know if saying the worst thing is the right way to say it, but it's weird having so much money wrapped up into shit that I haven't like enjoyed. Like if you're building a bike, like there's an enjoyment to build it. Like you see it evolving into something, or you eventually get.
Tell me you don't enjoy this right now?
No, I enjoy it. It's nerve-wracking having so much money tied up into something that you haven't really used it for what it's for yet. I mean. I bought this program that we're finally using today, and it was $800 in August.
Dude, you should have got OBS. It's free.
I fucking hate this community, dude. This live stream community is full of shit, dude.
My
They're
God.
worse. They're worse than the people on like bike Facebook chat rooms. You know what I mean? You go on there. I don't know shit about this stuff. I'm trying to learn it. I'm like, hey. What's a good software to use for, live streaming and switching camera angles? Everybody and their mom has a program. And then they just get into wars, like talking shit about this one sucks, that one sucks. And I'm like, well, I have a Mac. Oh, you need a PC. Cool. Go get a PC. Hey, man, this PC's not working with it. You should have a Mac. I'm like, what the fuck, man? Is there a standard here that we can abide by?
No, dude. You need to call somebody on the phone and talk to them.
Who? Who do you know that does shit like this? I know photographers.
So I talked to this guy named Heath this week, and he helped me out. He knew a lot about doing this stuff. And he was like, we're just going to use OBS. It's free.
You know more people than I do.
But no, I didn't even call him originally. I called somebody else that was like, hey, I know this guy named Heath. He knows a lot about this.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck, I know Heath.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's, dude, there's a lot going on. One thing I was reminded of this weekend, like the amount of people it took me to do like a live streaming feed.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck, this isn't sustainable. I can barely do the show myself if I have to bring on a team of people to do every episode.
Yeah, and that's, like you just said about the podcast, about how you're trying to create this thing that's effortless. That's what I'm doing here. Like, that's why I built this studio, because as soon as I bought this program and I bought the first camera, I'm like, I don't want to set this shit up downstairs in the shop every time we're going to do this like that. So I started looking for a place to move into. Like, I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to do it. I'm gonna find a storefront, a studio, put some products in the front, and then a studio in the back and do it. And then I started looking at places. It was going to be like $4,000 to get into somewhere. I'm like, fuck, man, I could take that $4,000 and just build this on top of the paint booth and still have access to painting downstairs and working on bikes if I have to.
No, smart.
And
I'm going to do a storefront like that at some point. Except for not a storefront. It's going to be like a barbecue and burger joint that sells beers. I'll have the Buck and Pid down there. Actually, it'll just be their place, and I'll be on top of it with like this window glass studio
fucking
looking
squatting
down on all the fucking pretty ladies serving beer and shit and burgers. And then behind that will be a garage. It'd be pretty much like Rick's place,
Yeah.
except for not near as big or cool.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like that was one of the things of like getting all this shit, finding a place to house it. I'm in a paint and body shop, so there's dust everywhere. It's hard to keep clean, and I didn't want to have all this stuff exposed to that. You know what I mean? So I had to try to find a way to make this as streamlined as possible so that I can do this podcast with you right now. And then later on, if someone says, hey, dude, I'm passing through town, I'm like, cool, come through. And just start right
set up. Yeah.
And and so even now, like whenever I'm kind of, one of the things I'm kind of struggling with a little bit, and I'm trying not to sound like an asshole about it, but it's like, now that I've built this studio, right? I have great sound quality to my knowledge in it, and we have the ability to do the video. Hopefully this works out.
It's a studio.
Yeah, it's a studio. And so I want to get people to come here. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And with the growth of our podcast numbers wise, it's like it's kind of valuable for certain companies to make the effort to come here versus, you know, me riding my bike across, which I want to do. Don't get me wrong. I still plan on riding my bike across country, sitting in podcasts with certain places because it adds to the experience of going to New York or wherever you're going, right? But every day it's like 40 people hit me up. Hey, man, I got a shop in, you know, so-and-so. Can I be on your podcast? I'm like, yeah, I mean, if you want to, come on down. Oh, well, when are you going to be back in California? I'm like, yo, man, like, it's a lot of work to do that. Like, when I come to California, like, I have to, you know, bam, bam, bam. I mean, you've done it. Like, you know how much of a time-consuming it is to go to each shop, sit down, and how long it takes to get them in the mode to do the podcast.
You know what the first rule about the podcast is?
Huh.
Don't ask to be on the podcast.
That's a good one. It's like Fight Club.
Yeah, exactly, dude.
Well, I mean, there's people that, I mean, I'm sure for you as well, there's people that come along that you just aren't aware of, you know, and then sometimes, you know, whether it's a friend that tells you about
Like
them.
John Jessup.
Yeah.
I had no idea who this was. Mike was like, you got to talk to John Jessup.
Hey, he's a great dude.
No, he was a great dude. But, you know, I didn't.
Yeah. It's out of your, like, circle, though. I mean, he's kind of, his bike's too
I mean, he
good.
likes motorcycles. Like, I don't feel like it's out of my circle. I'm just like, I've gotten so busy and, like, my blinders are on, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you know, I was at I've been at a bunch of places he's been, you know? And just like.
Not even paying attention.
Dude.
Well, what's, let me get back to my questions here.
You got
No, they're not questions. They're more like conversation
pieces. Yeah.
you
No,
know,
it's
going.
good. It's good.
So, I mean, some of the best podcasts that I've liked of yours has been like guys like Scooter Tramp, Scotty, Beaner. That's how you
Beaners,
say
that
it.
was a good one.
Bill Dodge, you know, those kind of guys in that circle of people that's kind of,
Round the World Doug.
yeah, like, what was the other one? Panhead. Didn't you do one with him?
Panhead Billy?
Yeah.
No, I've never had a podcast with Panhead Billy.
Well, I've heard about him through your podcast, and that's
Yeah,
what happens.
absolutely.
And then some of the first ones that really got me on the whole kick of doing the you know, the out of country riding was one of the dudes you did the podcast with in New Mexico that time.
Mm-hmm.
And that put me on a whole nother wavelength, and I'm still on that, but it seems like it keeps getting pushed further and further down the line. So you did it though.
What was his name? The guy in New Mexico.
Something Best?
Yeah, Jason Best.
Is that? Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, or Marcus Best.
Marcus Best sounds more.
Yeah, Marcus Best. I met him through his brother Jason.
Okay.
So I found out that dude works on this freaking. Maybe it's Julia Roberts. Some actress's ranch up there.
Oh, shit.
And that's what he does. He has that and some other shit. But yeah, he was a great contact. I actually need to reach out to him again because I'm working on a trip down south where I'm not exactly sure I'm going to do it. What I want to do is I want to ride through the Amazon. Like I want to ride. I want to go up Machu Picchu. I want to eat ayahuasca or drink ayahuasca. I want to ride through the jungle.
Yeah.
And the amount it would cost to like send a bike down there and fly, I could just ride through Central America, you know? So that's what I was going to do. I'm building a bike, and I was like, oh, I'll race the mint with it, you know, and like get some sponsors on board to help me build this bike, and then I'll take it on my off-road journey.
Yeah, because I think one of the last podcasts I heard of yours, you talked about basically riding down to Panama or something, leaving the bike or trying to get it transported to Colombia.
Yeah, finding a place to store it. That way I don't have to do it all in one trip. Come home, see the family, hang out, and then find another available opportunity.
Yeah, to go back down. That's smart.
But now I'm rethinking that, like now I'm like, well, what if, this bike, like so many people have helped me get it together. I mean, not that it's together, it's in pieces right now, but I'm spending a lot of time and money. Other people have spent a lot of time and money. I'm just like, I can't just like leave the bike in South America, like it seems like an asshole
Come back and
move.
be a frame on a block.
No, I mean, just leaving it there and not riding it or using it and like showcasing it just seems kind of selfish. So I'm like, well, so I may just like fly down there and rent a bike. My main goal is I just want to ride in Colombia and Peru. In Central America, I mean, I feel like I will get some good content out of that as far as like a road show.
Are you want to go through like the Chilean side? Would that be how you say it? Down to like Argentina, or are you just not even trying to go that far down?
I haven't thought that far.
Oh.
I mean,
yeah,
that's south of Peru. I want to ride. I got to ride Peru and Colombia before I worry about anything else.
Okay, yeah. I looked into it a lot, and we've actually, starting to get a lot of listeners from down there in a lot of the countries. So it's like, be cool to make connections and be able to like, couch surf and stuff like that on one of those trips going down there. But I mean, I think it was that dude Marcus Best podcast where he was talking about that bar at the end of the world kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's like, fuck, I want to see what that's like.
Yeah.
It's like Aquaman shit, some like ocean. There's like a bar. There's like some locals hanging up in there, and then you know what I mean, like that vibe just seems.
If you make it there.
Yeah, if you.
if you're at that bar, then there's stories that you hold, just to be there, I talked to some guy, I can't think of his name. Him and 3 other dudes rode from Alaska all the way down to Tierra del Fuego. Mm-hmm. Like crossed the Darien Gap on their bikes. They didn't even like go around in a boat.
I thought there was like crazy like
it is.
And shit
It is. It's like insane. These are like Army Rangers, like trained fighters. Okay. And they ended up like abandoning one bike. They were like building all these slings and ropes, things to like pull the bikes through the rainforest. It was all fucked,
yeah.
But they did it.
Why haven't they like just made a road through there?
Who?
Anybody. It's borders.
I mean, if it was like gonna, money. What? There's no money to be gained, I guess. Anybody that's transporting, they just throw it on a boat.
Yeah, I guess the boat industry for transporting.
Only drug cartels or people transporting drugs are going through that jungle, and
makes sense.
They're not going to make a road where the police could drive down it. Like,
hey, let's fuck ourselves.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense.
Unless us adventure bike people can get together and like put together the money to put a road through the jungle. Where's the fun in that, dude?
How was it going to like EDR and riding into Mexico? Like, what was the vibe like cutting?
It's so insane that there's like this imaginary line, and you literally go to another planet once you cross the line. Like as soon as you get over there, there's no like buffer zone. There's no like.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, like all right, these people kind of speak English for the first 50 yards. No, it's like straight into another planet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've ridden down 10 when you're going through like El Paso, and you're on this side of the border. And you're on this side of the border, and you're literally looking at like Walmart signs and Target and Hooters, and then you look on the other side of the fence because the highway kind of runs along it, and there's not even a gas station sign. Like there might be something, but it just looks like huts on the side of a hill.
It is.
You know what I mean?
That's exactly what it is.
That's crazy. That would like fuck with me if I was.
But that's over there. Like when you go to like Tijuana, or where I crossed at, like there's signs, but it's still different, dude. It's so different. And riding down there was a ton of fun. The people are super nice. Mm-hmm.
So was the group big enough to where it wasn't like you were sketched out by it, or is the border towns over there in the California, Yuma and all that?
I mean, I crossed with a girl.
Yeah.
It was just 2 of us that rode down into Mexico.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, you look at because me and my wife just went to California. It's the first time I've ever been to San Diego or like Yuma and all that shit. So it is it seems a lot more common, like the whole border town and the border itself. But it seems a lot different in like Juarez and El Paso. Like that just doesn't seem welcoming.
Because California's like all part of that open borders bullshit. The people in Texas are like, fuck that, build a wall.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a different mindset. And if there is a buffer zone, it's on our side of the line, where there are Spanish and English people.
Yeah,
very common.
Sense.
Once you cross that wall, it's like all Spanish.
Yeah, that makes sense. One thing I've heard you say in a recent podcast, and one thing you're known for, is not being dependable.
Saying fuck.
No, yeah. Not being dependable to go ride with you anywhere.
Dependable? No.
I don't know if it's dependable, but like say Rob, from New York. He was on the podcast and he went to EDR and he was talking about how like he was trying to ride with you, but you're like just seemed like you were doing everything you can to get away from the pack.
Well,
and Rob's
a special person.
Yeah.
Okay. Rob, I don't know if Rob told you the whole story there.
He might have, but I don't know.
Let's see how do I put this.
Somebody's
Yes, I was trying not to ride with Rob.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I took one for the team by getting Rob to come with me. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Rob had done some shady shit that pissed everybody off. It was just like unnecessary, and it wasn't even like wasn't something he intentionally did. Like I warmed up to him after that, but he did something that I considered not looking out for the group.
Yeah,
like he, it wasn't. It didn't do good for all of us,
Yeah.
Like, and when you're riding anywhere in a group or going anywhere together with people, like everybody's actions needs to speak for the group, like you're all doing this together. So yeah, but that being said, I also travel alone. The reason I'm able to do the miles I do is because I travel alone and I follow the pace of my bike, like if I'm not going to follow somebody for an extended period of time if their speed doesn't match what my bike wants to do.
That makes sense.
And that's starting with my bike, but it also means like me as a person, like if I'm going to go at my pace, like this is what I do. I know how to I do it to a way that I can enjoy it. So like, but then I've also learned like following people is fun, like following other people and seeing how they do it and appreciating the way they ride and interact with other people.
Yeah, no, I get that. So I'm actually in a point too on riding myself where I'm much more interested in like doing some more solo trips and then meeting people in other areas and riding with them.
Yeah.
Versus like I've been over the last couple of years like this guy that rounds up tons of friends and takes them to somewhere, like, hey, I'm gonna show you.
It's a little easier for you when all your friends ride newer bikes.
Yeah, that is a bigger.
I'm taking some chance when I say, hey, let's all meet up on our choppers and go somewhere, like, even if it's a county away.
If you listen to any of your road shows, it's like it's always a gas thing. It's always like
and that's what I say that, but like my shit, like all the stuff that happens to me on the road that slows me down. Normally, it's not like because I'm on an older bike. It's like shit that could happen on any motorcycle, whether it's tires or brakes or fuel a lot of the times.
Yeah, it seems, well, like I said, a lot of the road shows I've listened to over the time, and it would always, I remember one time you were talking about how like, man, I should probably check this shit out before I leave the house. You know what I mean? And stop being the guy that's on the side of the road because I left the house with a loose or a shitty wire connection to the headlight or something like that.
Oh, yeah, Well, I remember saying that, or I always say the road provides.
Yeah,
it's like but you can't rely on the road. Like you can't take off going, oh, I'll get somebody to help me fix that whenever that breaks. Like if it's gonna break, then take care of it now. And now that the more I ride, the more familiar I get with the parts of my motorcycle that do need preventative maintenance done to them. Where early on I was just like, fuck it, let's go.
Yeah, but that's also what made like your podcast and your, I don't want to say brand, but just who you are as a person. Like that's what made you interesting. Is that you just kind of went with it. You took that chance. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you always made it back. So
well,
fucking. And the story. I mean, the problem is, it's like, would it even be interesting if like, oh, I went to fucking Daytona, had a great time, and your bike just started great, didn't have a problem kickstarting it in front of all those dudes that time in front of a gas station.
Yeah.
You need that shit to happen to create, some dialogue, some excitement. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So now that I've like gotten better at it and I don't have as many things happening, I've decided that I need to be doing other things to create content on my road shows, like learning about the roads that I'm on.
Yeah.
Like where do they come from? Why were they built? What's the type of geography that I'm riding around? Why is it the way it is? Because now that I like let Boston Billy from B&B build my motor, that thing's like as strong as can be. I know to check my wheels and bearings. Lowbrow's hooking me up with tires and oil, and I've got things to make the trips easier. So there's a lot less, content. I still just don't look at my gas tank. I just wait till it runs out. Hope that there's a gas station close by. If not, then that just gives me an opportunity to rant and rave.
Yeah.
While running out of breath, pushing my bike down the road.
Have you ever considered? I think you did for a while. You started doing a little bit of video, bringing the GoPro on things.
Yeah.
Have you ever considered getting into more of that whole vlog type mentality?
Absolutely. Yeah, I have a ton of video.
For real?
Yeah, I got a ton of video, but my computer crashes every time I try and do something cool with it. Most of the stuff, like, I can make a video on my cell phone that gets as much attention for the gram, but it also comes back to, like, doing consistent things, and it seems lazy for me to say there's a lot of work in doing video.
Yeah.
Because
there's
no reason I can't do that. Like, I know I'm capable of doing it, but just brings in another aspect that just changes a lot of things,
Yeah.
I could do some more vlogging, and I always film to do it, but
dude, that's what I'm on right now, and I think doing this camera shit will help the anxiety of talking into a camera. Like, even though I'm not talking into a camera, but knowing that it's there and getting used to being on camera is one of the things that I'm dealing with right now. I mean, that camera right there is for the vlog. I got the GoPro. I got a drone. I'm in this weird place where I'm not actually doing anything. I'm just buying shit so that I'm ready to do it once I'm ready to do it. You know what I mean? And at least it makes me feel good. Like, fuck yeah, it's going to be a great vlog because I got the badass camera now and I have the badass Rode microphone to go on top of it. And I have all this shit, but it's like, then I pull the camera out and I'm like, this is gay. You know what I mean? I don't want to do it. Like,
no.
Getting past that thing, or knowing that if I just show some of the things that go on here and some of the things that go on the bike trip, it'll be enough to entertain some people. You know what I mean? Because some of it's interesting, I think. But then I'm sitting here on camera and I'm churching up all this shit. You know what I mean? Trying to make this look cooler. Got my little red lights over here and shit. Trying to make it more appealing, And I guess it's because what I've learned through doing podcasts is the quality of sound makes a difference in, like, how many people will tune in. Sometimes your content might not be the best, but if your shit's consistent with sound and doesn't sound like shit all the time, more people dig it, because shitty.
Because they're retarded.
No, you ever listen to a podcast and it's just like, fuck, man, I can't like get past like all the shit going on or the echo or something like that sometimes. And so the same concept with video. It's like, if the video is just so hard to watch, if it's not pleasing to the eye, then there's so much content now. You have to kind of almost set yourself apart.
That's why I don't even want to do it.
Yeah.
I just want somebody. If somebody would just follow me around with a camera, dude, they could get enough content where they could start their own YouTube channel and make their money off of YouTube, I think. If they would film all the dumb shit that I do on the road and in everyday life, I mean.
That's what's hard about it now, is because maybe if this was like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, with everybody in these networks looking for the next thing to throw up on TV and shit, but you know how that would work. I mean, if anybody else came along, like even network wise, it'd be like, all right, well, I'm gonna need you to walk back through that door again and then say this, and it's like, fuck, man, I don't want to be that guy. You know what I mean? But maybe on the YouTube shit, like, you could do that, but I don't know. I don't see anybody wanting to come follow us around on cameras unless you got something in the works.
No. I mean, it would be fun. No, people definitely want to come. But I mean, most of them, I don't allow it.
Oh, yeah.
Because once again, the reason I'm able to do what I do is because it's just me.
Yeah.
Like, just adding somebody else to the mix. I know it sounds selfish, but it's not sustainable at this point.
Yeah. Well, there's the other thing that I've always liked about, like you go to places where there's lots of photographers all the time, it seems like, and you always get these rad ass shots of you, doing a podcast or riding your fucking chopper on a dirt track or doing some crazy shit. And like, I remember this one picture of you sitting there with this dude, and as a black guy, I think it was up in Portland or some shit.
Okay.
And you're just sitting there holding the road or the
oh,
fucking
yeah,
Zoom,
yeah, yeah.
And you got the boom or the fucking.
Wasn't that
lavaliers.
fucking room cool? It was like this place that you weren't supposed to go. There was like an 8-foot drop off. Like
For real.
the floor was just missing, like right next to us.
But yeah, that picture just said so much. It's, man, this is how intimate sometimes these conversations are. You know what I mean? It is just like a corner, and like I think you did one with Bill Dodge where you're just hanging outside and you can hear the bikes going back and forth or something like that.
Yeah, Sturgis.
Yeah, I mean those kind of things. Like when I was talking about like the sound quality, sometimes when you're in that atmosphere though, it sounds like people love that. So we did our California road trip, and all my boys were sitting in fucking some part of Colorado along the Colorado River. There's the Interstate 70, I believe, there. And we just put the mics on. You could hear the river, you can hear the highway, and it just kind of gave you this vibe that you're camping, and we're sitting there talking, and everybody loved it.
Because you were.
Yeah. You know, so I think that those work, but, you know, there's, I don't know. I don't fucking know. I think too much about all this shit.
I mean, I definitely, early on, I thought I was going to be more worried about the sound. You know, what's terrible is like, I went to school for sound engineering.
Damn.
But I don't practice it, you know, like, and I quit doing it for so long, like, you know, I lost the technology, you know, like I'm not running SM7B microphones, you know, like as far as I'm concerned, you can get the same sound quality out of an SM57. But I've also structured my show to make it comfortable on people. So I always like would start with the microphone really far away and just turn it up, the gain up really loud. So you hear all the ambient noises around it. But my main goal was like just to, the people that I'm talking to aren't used to having a microphone in their face.
Yeah.
So like to make them feel as comfortable as possible. But doing that and catching all the background noises, people really liked hearing the fucking grasshoppers in the background or the crickets, you know, like whatever it may be. So it's funny how I've just kind of just keep going with that, you know.
Have you ever noticed, like, when you do a podcast with someone, like, the first 30 minutes of it is kind of like them getting over their nerves? Like, I'd see dudes, like, just fucking moving everywhere.
Fuck, especially in a room like this with a big-ass microphone in their face.
Cameras.
Staring at somebody with headphones on.
Yeah.
Like, I really like the way I do clip-on mics now.
Yeah, so you do the lavalier stuff? Yeah. Yeah.
Which isn't the best sound quality, but it makes my guests feel comfortable as fuck from the get-go.
So I have a set of that I want to use for the like when I travel too, just because with all this camera shit now, it's like I just don't have enough room on the bike to have these
bullshit, dude. You got hard bags and shit. You should see what I carry on my fucking chopper, and I don't even have saddlebags. I can roll around with a drone.
You also wear the same clothes the entire time.
Well, it's because I don't put any clothes in there except for underwear and socks.
Yeah. Well, I with me, like I'm, you know, fuck, man. For a while, it was like
I know you got a new pair of pants for every day,
3
new
pairs
shirt.
of shoes.
You got different flat brim for each day of the week.
I got like 3 different visors for my Simpson helmet, depending on the type of day it is.
I forgot about the helmet situation too, huh?
Yeah. Well, like at night, everybody talks shit about like Simpson not having like transition lenses and shit, but I found that the Bell stuff doesn't work that great. And of course, I'm biased because I'm sponsored by Simpson and they're a sponsor of the podcast. But I rode Bell all last year, and it was cool at certain times to have that transition lens, but it honestly didn't work at the time of day you need it to work. So when the sun's coming up or sun's going down, it does not work. So when the sun's right in your fucking face, it does not work. But when it's noon, it's fucking dark as shit. Can't see. You know, it's awesome. But, yeah, I don't know how we get on helmets.
I don't know. I definitely didn't start talking about helmets.
Yeah, because you don't fucking.
I've been wearing one lately.
For real? I heard you get one. Didn't you have like a Biltwell or some shit that you were running around on, or like an open face one or some shit?
So a guy named Dustin got me an old helmet. I mean, I think the date code on it was like 66 or 69 or 60s, dude. It was Confederate flag. Oh. And he had my buddy Wes at Custom Destruction reline it.
Yeah, I followed it.
And it's like, it's an extra small helmet, and it fits my head like a fucking glove, dude. There's hardly any padding in there. It's not really a helmet, but it keeps my hair from getting all fucked up, you know?
You don't find like riding with the helmet, it helps with like the colder air and shit like that at times, or you just kind of fucking deal with it?
Yeah, I mean, so does a car.
Well, a car's a windshield.
Yeah, same thing, dude. I mean, yeah, it helps. It definitely helps.
Yeah.
Like, there's less bugs in your face, dude.
Yeah.
Your teeth wouldn't look like this, you know? There's a lot of things you gain by putting yourself in a helmet.
Yeah.
And not that I'm completely opposed to them. I just...
Well, there's also like this vibe. Like, you ever notice, like, I don't know if you ever have, but like if you rode like a sport bike, right? Like a Gixxer 1000 or a Kawasaki, it feels weird to be on that bike without a helmet. Like, it feels super weird, you know, as opposed to, like, I'm sure I would feel if I was riding a fucking panhead chopper. It'd probably feel weird to have a Simpson helmet on. You know what I mean? But, like, some things just go with the stance of the bike and the way it feels riding the bike. And if you're, you know, kind of more laid back like how your chopper is, or just however you're sitting, that helmet might catch more wind than actually block wind. You know what I mean? So
No, and that was early on my experience with the helmets that I was wearing. I mean, this was on a Softail.
Yeah.
2007 twin cam, and it just felt like it was blowing my head around. My neck hurt, you know, like it was just difficult. And that was my original reason in not wearing a helmet, was like, this is just not comfortable. It's like fucking lame.
I remember.
And when you leave the bar drunk, like you leave helmets behind. So that didn't help out early on.
Dude, when I was on the big wheel bagger days, I didn't wear a helmet either, but I would get so fucked up at bars, and then as soon as that wind hit my face, I had like one good solid run to get home, and I was good, because it would sober me up enough to where I can manage the road home.
Yeah.
I couldn't go to another bar and continue, but the wind just would kind of help knock it down. And I'm not trying to advocate for people to do that shit, but fucking kept me alive for a couple of years until I wised up and got off drinking heavily and riding.
Oh, dude, that's a whole.
You've been sober for quite a while, huh?
Yeah.
That's, man.
I mean, sober is kind of a loose word there.
Liquid sober, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I have drank some whiskey.
Yeah.
I've drank since I quit. But like small, you know, trying to think. Last time I took a shot because it was just easier to do a shot with this girl than tell her no, give me my change back. She had a megaphone. It was like a Coyote Ugly type bar at Las Vegas. I was like, it'd be easier to just do the shot with this girl than like listen to her yell at me and the rest of the bar that I just bought soda water with $100 bill. You know, like, just give me the shot. Like, let me. I'm not coming back to the bar. Like, I apologize. I even ordered a fucking soda water, woman.
No, that's cool. It's been.
But yeah, I haven't been getting drunk. Yeah, I used to get drunk a lot. I got 5 DWIs, and it was a shit show. And like, I toured the country on my bike with a skateboard and a guitar. And there wasn't many instances where I wasn't drunk. You know, like when I wasn't drunk, it was in the morning when I was waking up. And then riding my bike to the first destination. And that's normally when the drinking would start each day.
You ever miss that lifestyle that you had there? I mean, or is it kind of like something that you fulfilled it and got the experience out of it and you're good with it?
I don't know.
I mean, you kind of have that.
I mean, I don't care to go out and get drunk and just like, but I mean, there's like I think it's more of, it just sucks sometimes to think that I'm not responsible enough to have some drinks every once in a while. You know, like when I see people that do, I'm like, how the fuck do they keep their shit together? You know, like, how am I not capable of?
Dude, trust me, I know. Like, our little bike night we've been doing for the last couple of years, you know, with my friends around here, like, I had to chill on that because I would go out there, get fucked up. I'm around my closest friends, but there's also people that, like, follow us online or listen to the podcasts that come out there, and I'm fucked up drunk. And when I'm drunk, I'm kind of opinionated-er than I already am. So I'll be sitting there just fucked up. Someone comes up to me, hey, man, you know, what's up? I was like, yeah, fuck that guy and fuck this and stuff I don't really mean, but it's just like, I'm just.
Oh, but you do. Just take some booze to get it out of you, huh?
No, I honestly, when I left that big wheel world, the bagger shit, and I came over and met guys like yourself and Kenny back in the day and just all these people that kind of, you know, Tim O'Keefe, and I was kind of introduced to this whole other motorcycle culture. You know, one of the things that everybody around was much more positive and friendly with each other. You know what I mean? And wanted to see each other do better. But I still have some of that old way of thinking stuck in me, and sometimes it comes up, and it's like shit that I don't even need to be worried about or thinking about, you know. But you get drunk, and those deep down thoughts that you push down, they start coming to the top. They float up, and then that's where, you know, I have to check myself. Like, you know, I really don't mean that shit, but I get in these places where I feel like I need to fill the silence with some bullshit. You know what I mean? So I've been trying to get off drinking so much around people that I don't really know.
I mean, whatever it takes, man.
Whatever's
best for you.
I started drinking whiskey now. So, like, I'll drink, like, I'll pour some whiskey in a glass, and I'll have a podcast with someone, and I'll literally like sip on it, and I don't get fucked up. I just get loose, and I'm good. As opposed to like if I do it, I'll kill 2 12-packs in a podcast, no problem, and be fucked up. And that shit's on record. I've done that before. They're out there to listen to, and I just don't want to do that anymore. Plus, trying to be more grown up and professional, and you know, with this podcast and not be on here just fucking popping cans every fucking 5 minutes. You know, and farting and
I don't know, man. It worked for Russ Martin. That was like his signature noise when you hear him pull that cork out of the bottle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I miss that dude. I haven't listened to radio since podcast came along, man. Is he still on the
dude? He was putting that show out as a podcast before you even heard the word podcast.
For real? Yeah, I used to listen
back when Rick Fairless was doing a podcast.
Yeah,
just because they took all the radio shows and put them out on the internet.
Yeah, the last time I heard the radio, it was funny listening to all the iHeartRadio promotions for podcasts, and I was like, "You're kind of like advertising the death of your own platform right now."
I think it's because Clear Channel owns iHeartRadio.
Yeah, and they own all the
advertising that goes with all those podcasts.
So what's it like, man? Like for, you know, we were setting up this podcast, remember? And it's like you have like a travel season, and you're like gone for so long. And last year you were gone for fucking, you know, what would you say, like Daytona kicked it off, and you're just on the road. You're here for a couple days, back on the road.
I mean, I leave. So I tried to make it to where I'm not gone for more than 2 weeks a month. But when you're riding around shit that I like to ride around on, you leave town, and then when you get back to town, you spend whatever amount of time you're in town fixing all the shit that you broke, so that you can go back out and do it again. Especially racing, you know, racing a Sportster in the dirt and hitting jumps, like that shit was broken. My chopper was, you know, I broke my chopper in multiple places. I didn't even know it could be broken last year, and instead of like fixing them not correctly, but like fixing them, correctly. I just put the shit back together in a way that works for me. Yeah. You know, and which causes something else to break the next trip. So yeah, I'm getting to travel season, race season. I didn't really want to go to any shows last year.
You kind of followed the racing circuit more last
year.
And
fucking all the races are at big shows. Yeah. So this year, my thought was like, all right, I'm not building a hooligan bike. I'm going to build a bike to ride down to Central America, maybe do the Transcontinental Trail. Yeah. And I was like, well, shit, I can race the Mint with it.
What's the Mint?
The Mint 400. It's a desert race outside of Vegas.
Okay. Never heard of it.
Never heard of the Mint. You seen Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas?
Yes, but it's been so long that I only remember parts.
So you remember the beginning when he's got a beer filled with sand? When he first goes to Vegas?
I remember the trip to Vegas, the road, when they're driving. Don't they pick up like Tobey Maguire or some shit, or on the fucking way, the Spider-Man kid on the way to Vegas? It's been a long time since I've seen that movie.
I don't even know. I can't tell you now.
I remember specifics.
So the Mint is a race they've been doing for a long time over there. They quit doing it for years because people were like leaving their broken down vehicles in the desert, you know, and it got to be like a pollution type thing. So now they've been doing it for a handful of years. Last year was the first year they let motorcycles start racing again. So you show up there early. They have like a day of cleanup where I think you get to ride the whole track, pick up shit that people left out there from last year's race. And I thought it was the Mint 400. Like a Mint 400, doesn't that sound like a 400-mile race? Yeah. Like that's what you would take from the Mint 400.
That's usually what the numbers.
Okay. It's not the case, dude. So the class that I'm racing in is there's a 80-mile loop, and we do it twice. So 160 miles. Yeah. Which seems kind of like.
What kind of bike are you building for that?
A Sportster.
So you got to get gas. How does that work?
Watch out! You're on film, dude. Make sure you're straight up there.
Oh yeah, I'm good. No, you're on.
I'm on film.
Yeah, I'm good. I can pull my bald ass out.
No, I'm on a Sportster. Yeah, yeah, 80 miles, 160 miles. I think after one lap, I can put fuel in it. Yeah, but I'm running a big tank. I'm like not building a Sportster tank. Yeah, Sportster. A Sportster tank.
There's nothing like a 3-gallon tank is the bigger one.
Yeah, mine's some aftermarket shit that came on the bike.
Yeah. Carbureted still?
Yep. Nice. It's 94 or Or
Yeah, that'd be cool.
98, I
So
don't know.
is that so you're thinking about building that for that, but then being able to use that one to take down to Panama or whatever?
Yep.
That's not bad. Yeah. Reliable bikes, right? Kind of.
Yeah.
Maybe if you're not jumping them off
Yeah,
dirt
I was gonna
hills
say
and
I
shit.
don't. They're reliable. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a great motor. It's a great platform. People have been building shit with them for years, and
How was it racing? Like you've done a lot of racing on the bikes. Seeing Carlos kind of do it now is pretty awesome. I don't know enough about the whole program to know like what you were doing versus what Carlos is doing now and things like that. I just know that Carlos was on ESPN, and then I know that you've gotten into it pretty heavily. So what's that whole culture like with the dirt track? And is it flat track or dirt track?
flat track. Okay. Dude, all racing that I've ever experienced is fucking expensive. Mm-hmm. But I've met some of the greatest people, like everybody's there to have fun and race and go fast. And it's a culture that is, a bunch of gearheads, and it's a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's something that you think you spend a lot of money on gear.
Yeah.
Go start racing, that's where the money starts coming out. It's pretty insane. I've been fortunate enough to have people help me do as much as I've done. Mm-hmm. Last year I gave the bike away that I raced all year, and all my listeners helped make that happen, which was awesome. And I had people that contributed parts. This year, this bike that I'm building, I've had Tim from Gigastat. He's helped me out with the top tree to run a Honda front end on his bike, which he said his overpriced trees are just like your overpriced paint jobs.
That dude's cool. He's up there in like Buffalo, I think.
Yeah. He's gold, man. Yeah. And then who else? Moose helped me, redo my swing arms so that I can get some more ground clearance. Hard Drive, Zombie Mike, and Anthony from Hard Drive. Dude, they've helped me out with a bunch of small stuff, and they got Fox suspension on board. Because that's one thing I think I'm spending more time, energy, and money on is the suspension on this bike, dude, to make it like, dude, because muscling a Sportster through the desert is going to be brutal as fuck, dude. I mean, it would be tough enough to just ride a light dirt bike or just a dirt bike, but a heavy-ass Sportster. So I think the suspension is going to come in really handy.
Yeah, I remember you talking about with John about how suspension is kind of something that's been interesting you on an actual road bike.
Oh, yeah, I've been thinking about it. Dude, until I get on my chopper. Like, I rode to Rick's the other night to Strokers, and it's like a fucking hour and a half from my house. And it was so fucking awesome. I love riding my chopper. Yeah. And that night, I think I left at like 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And it was before this cold front blew in. It was, dude, so epic. Epic riding my chopper.
I for sure, like, one of my main goals is literally to experience, like, what you have on your chopper on a rigid. Like, I want to build something at some point in my life and rip it across country to some kind of trip or some kind of event on it and see what it feels like. I know it might suck, I'm a pretty heavy guy, you know what I mean? But I don't know, just something seems kind of cool about doing it and being able to say, yeah, I've ridden a rigid chopper across the country or I've done some things on this thing. I'm not sure if I'm going to be like you and go jump it off fucking dirt track hills and shit like that, but it's pretty cool you did, though.
I was hoping that it would just break into pieces and I wouldn't have to ride it anymore after that. No, I mean, it is. I mean, until you do it, then you're like, fuck, that's retarded. Why would I build a bike without any suspension and ride across the country?
Yeah.
Like, hearing you say that, I'm like, yeah, he's retarded. He's got a nice bagger with a fairing and hard bags. He doesn't really want to build a rigid chopper and ride it across the country.
There's like 5 different styles that I don't know the actual names on that I really want to do for myself, or at least have someone like Mike make one for me or something like that. But I don't know. Like, I don't really know much about the older bikes in the sense of knowing what's going to be. My biggest thing is more reliability. Like, seeing Mike go to like Loretta Lynn's and then having to rebuild his transmission there. Like, I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be on a trip that I just, saved up money and time and to do. And here I am on the other side of the country, replacing something that's very out of my wheelhouse of understanding. You know what I mean? So riding, that was a big reason why, like, doing this podcast and knowing that I wanted to go travel and go do podcasts with different shops, why I kind of went to the bagger route in the first place. Is the reliability of having it start up and know that, okay, I have this guy scheduled in, Tennessee, so I need to know that this bike's going to get me to Tennessee and back. Versus
where I'm like, I need this guy to know I might not make it to Tennessee because I am on a chopper that I built myself.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. That was kind of the thing, but I do want to get to that point where, if the bike feels great, running great, like, fuck it, I think I'm going to take the chopper on this trip. If it's kind of sketchy, I don't know.
But the only way you're ever going to know that is if you're riding it on a daily basis.
Yeah, for sure.
Getting to know your bikes, riding them all the time. And like I've said, my biggest problems have not been my old motor getting too hot and it blowing up. No, it's like other shit that happens, dude. Like a flat tire, running out of fuel, like all shit that could happen on any motorcycle.
Yeah.
Even breaking my frame, like, well, when you jump a finish line jump at a supercross track, any motorcycle can break, especially if it was designed to be ridden on the road only,
Yeah, it seems like a broken frame would be something that'd be easier to get scavenged, to get fixed. I mean, the more people weld and know how to rebuild a transmission.
Or you could fix it, but is it going to be fixed right, or is it just going to cause the shit to break? It's like, because that's only the beginning of the problem.
Yeah, if it's broken, and it kind of throws things out of line.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. What, since, with your podcast and the growth that it's had, like, have you found it to be easier to get people to do to come on the podcast now versus, like, I know in the beginning of mine, like, it would be like this period of trying to convince them to do it. And now, do you find yourself a lot easier to get guests on, or how's that working now?
Yeah, or when I talk to somebody, they're like, haven't I done your podcast before? Yeah. Because they've done so many, or so many people have reached out. Yeah. It's like, oh, another motherfucker with a podcast wants me to do a podcast.
So how do you, I'm kind of biased to that, because on one hand, I'm really excited that more people are getting into the podcast, because hopefully it brings more guests.
Awareness.
Yeah. Like, because if, somebody's doing a podcast over here and they're related to our kind of scene of motorcycles, it's likely that if somebody they know gets into it, they'll find their way to ours, right? And so we all get to share our listeners. But the other thing, and me overthinking it, is with so many people doing podcasts, I don't want it to become like it is for YouTube, where there's so many people doing videos that maybe that first person that wanted to try it goes and they hear a shitty quality podcast and like, that's not my thing. I'm done. I don't want to even go down that path.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
absolutely. That is definitely a possibility.
Yeah.
Somebody hears a shitty podcast and they're like, I don't want to listen to any. Oh, you got one of those? Yeah, I've heard a podcast before.
That. Yeah. But that's the only thing that's a scenario that I'm making up in my head. I hope isn't like that. But I just noticed that that's what happens with people in having bikes built. Sometimes they have a bad experience, so they're done. They're not doing this ever again.
Oh, it's like that with everything.
Yeah.
No, I find that I have people on my show. Some people are easier to get on the show. I don't know. I think a lot of times I'm asking people, like I said before, that aren't comfortable, that don't normally do things like this. So they don't really know what a podcast is, or I don't know, they've seen a fucking picture of me jumping my chopper and they're like, yeah, I kind of just want to talk to you regardless of whether we're recording or not.
You do have that kind of allure to you, though. What the other thing, one thing that I started trying to do, and you've done it with Rick as well, is like trying to get that generation, that hamsters kind of generation of motorcycling on the podcast.
You mean the old people?
Yeah, I was trying to be nice, but
the old people, the old dudes, like Rick. You're talking about old people. Is that what you said? Did you call Rick old?
No, I called him a hamster.
He's one of the guys that actually rides a chopper in the hamsters now.
So, having like Yaffe and I've actually been in talks with Rick for a while now about doing it, but like wanting to have some of these guys on to talk, to kind of do their story, like their history, like you did for Rick and what we kind of did for Paul Yaffe, to have that recorded, because, like I kind of had a couple, I wouldn't say I had a direct opportunity, but I could have possibly made like an Arlen S podcast happen through some friends that I have that work there. And I just never pursued it. And then now that's off the table.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so being able to capture some of these people in the industry that have created the industry for us, has been one of the things I've wanted to try to do, and I know that you've done it as well with like Rick and Bill Dodge and people like
Did you
that.
just call Bill Dodge old?
No.
No, I absolutely, I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I feel like racing last year kind of kept me from doing more of that.
Yeah.
Because that ended up being top priority. But no, that's one thing. I've met so many people at all the events and things I've done in the past couple of years that I have places I need to go to record podcasts. You know, I need to go talk to Sugar Bear.
Yeah.
There's people out there that I want to talk to, and I need to make more of a priority. But a lot of times the old dudes, they don't get this medium.
Yeah.
You know, like they treat it like a radio interview, and they got short answers, and they don't really tell. You know, they've done, and they also feel like their story's been told before. Like, why do I got to do a podcast? I did a fucking TV show. You know, like.
Well, you know, when I was pitching it to Yaffe, you know, and I was kind of, I don't know if you would say this is arrogant or not, but I was like, look, man, like you've been in all this shit. You've been in books, you've TV, radio shows, but you never got to tell your story this way. Unedited, not with some producer telling you to say it with a little more pop. Like, just tell me your life in your words. Like, we're sitting here reminiscing about some shit you used to do. And I feel like that way of people, like, seeing, hearing, getting to tell their story that way is like, you don't get that with a TV show. They got to edit it. They got to cut in and cut out, get rid of these thought processes that you're going through trying to remember how it went down. And so I feel like the podcast is a way for people to kind of do their biography in a way that they own more. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So
But that also worries people, you know, especially when their persona was built on
Fake.
lies to begin with, you know, like I
the
loved
other
it talking to Rick. He was like, you saw a TV show, right? You know about TV? None of it's real.
Yeah.
You know, like I was shocked to hear him say that like right out of the gate.
Yeah.
Like obviously we know reality TV shows are not real, even though he felt the need to explain that to me.
Yeah.
But it was cool like hearing it from him. He's like, dude, all that shit was scripted.
Yeah.
And it was. So like in the older guys, like some of them have done some things. They don't know if the like, you know, people are getting in trouble for shit they did years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, it's even harder now probably to get some of those old dudes on who are like still relying on the industry to live and like retire at some point. So I know that there's a bit of, it's like talking to a guy that was in a club or is in a club.
Yeah.
They don't really want to talk about everything because they're afraid that they're going to say some shit they're not supposed to say.
Yeah.
You know, so they just like shy away from stuff. Like, you know, I had Matt Jackson on, I think for the third time.
Yeah.
And he finally like loosened up where he realized that I wasn't trying to get him to talk about any club shit he didn't want to talk about. Mm-hmm. You know, he was just comfortable. Maybe that's just the way I saw it. Maybe he just approached it like he always does. But I feel like we got to talk more about some of the club stuff because he knows I'm not trying to
exploit it.
Yeah, or get him to say something he doesn't want to say. Whereas like some of the old people have some reservations about talking because, you know, in the past they've also, if they've dealt with TV, they've been hijacked or they've been like manipulated in the past.
Yeah.
So there's like not a trust for somebody with a microphone.
True.
You know?
You know, I've actually wondered that a lot about the club scene too, because with, you know, one of the guys that does podcasts out of I think it's Between Two Wheels down there in San Antonio, they were talking about doing something. I probably shouldn't have said that they were because I don't want to ruin their thing, but it's out now. It's fucking live. I can't fucking not. He was talking about doing some stuff with like some club stuff, and I just didn't know how that was gonna work with them not being able to really talk about it because.
Well, here's the deal. It's 2020.
Yeah.
They're not fighting for like territories to sell drugs and run guns.
Yeah.
You know, like they've all got clean acts, you know, like they're not hiding anything. If anything, they want to get out in the public's eye to like not be as threatening.
True.
You know, to keep from getting shot by the cops because they are just, you know, they're people that have regular jobs, you know, and wear a patch and really enjoy motorcycles and really enjoy riding together. And they're not living the outlaw style or the outlaw ways like they had in the past where, you know, they didn't want to be in front of the camera or
now
documented.
I mean, it's crazy because like you have these platforms now, the podcast or whatever to kind of do it, but it seemed like everybody and their mom was writing books back in the day.
Well, everybody that wrote a book for a club was like either a rat or an informant.
Yeah.
Or they turned on the club. Like those are the people that wrote books.
Well, Barker
not the
wrote
people
a
that
book.
were like, Well, I get it's Barger. Yeah, Barger
I read
too.
like 2 or 3 of his books or some shit.
But he was also like part of the turning point.
True.
You know, like part of like, hey guys, it's kind of like the Indians back in the day were like, all right, we gotta fucking join them. We can't beat them. They're just gonna kill us.
Yeah.
Or if we want to keep being Indians, we got to do it with the white people.
Yeah. Well, what I was kind of wondering about.
Did I just compare motorcycle clubs to Indians?
Maybe.
I think so.
They don't
being
listen to
oppressed by the man.
It's what it is.
Yeah.
But with that, it's like you'd want to have them on. You want, and I think that, I mean, knowing what I know about the MC culture, it's like they need to. They carry all these values that are, you know, kind of like we do with our Constitution. They were written a long time ago. Some things don't really apply to the way things work now, but they stick to it because there's something romantic about that, right? And they kind of need to be able to be more open and be more, like, revealed in a sense of showing the public or showing the people.
Do they?
I don't know. I would
Why
think.
would they?
Well, you just said they should.
I did?
Yeah.
No, I said they can.
Yeah,
They can be now. Where in the past there was like they were hiding some stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, like now there's not as much to hide, so they're a little bit, you know, they're open to the idea. But do they need to be? No. I mean, I like the fact that they don't.
Okay.
Like I think that that's cool that they have something that they hold dear to them, you know, like to where it's like it's their secret or whatever it is, like, you know, you got to be in the club.
Yeah.
Like that is a cool idea to like have a group of guys that all has like, you know, foundation.
It's like Fight Club, basically.
Yeah, don't talk about it.
Don't talk about it. Yeah. Well, no, I agree to that. You know, I guess I'm always looking at things from a marketing standpoint. Let me help you market your 1% club. But no, it's like you would think, how do you really appeal to newer generations when most of the allure?
You do that with Sam Crow, bro.
Yeah.
That's how you allure to the younger generations. And what's the new one? Mayans?
Yeah, that shit was horrible.
Was it?
I watched like some of the first season and I was like, I'm not into this.
Dude, as soon as I heard that it was even remotely close to an idea, I wouldn't put ape hangers and fishtails on my bike, dude.
Oh,
I was like, I'm beating him to it.
You're on the wagon.
Yeah.
You're running that wagon, huh? But no, the other thing is like, you know, those shows help bring people into motorcycling, even though like some of us are a little bit more not really into it because we actually do you know, ride bikes and understand things a little bit more. That's so appealing to someone that's looking for something in life to find out if they want to try motorcycles or not, because we might not have, you know, what we provide.
Well, I think it tapped into that tribal mentality that we all have.
Yeah.
You know, just being a part of something.
Yeah, for sure.
Like having something, like we just talked about, this kind of secret that
Yeah.
they have together with other people that not everybody else has.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, it is that. So we all were looking for our little groups to get in, and sometimes people find their little live streaming groups on fucking Facebook, and they're kind of cunty. But then there's also guys that get into bikes or they get into golf or some shit like that. You know what I mean? So, but what I'm trying to say is like you know, when you hear people talking about the motorcycle genre now, like the whole thing, and you hear about people saying that it's becoming so much more scary for younger people to get into it, and you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how true it is or not, but less people are getting into bikes from what I'm hearing from corporate people versus over the years, because I don't know why they are, but I'm just saying, like, there's not enough attention being brought to it other than Instagram, it seems.
Dude, yeah, I mean.
It's a loaded question.
Yeah. Was it a question? Were
I
you
don't know.
asking me a question?
We're just rolling, dude.
Why aren't young people riding motorcycles?
Back to the notes.
You know, I don't think they're getting scared off. I just think there's other things to do. And it is dangerous, you know, like it is dangerous as fuck, especially with cell phones.
True.
You know, like, and the fact that like everything's on video, you know, like everybody's got a GoPro. Everybody that wrecks their motorcycle has a GoPro because they're worried about their GoPro, and that's why they wreck their motorcycle. You know, like,
yeah.
And it is fucking dangerous.
Yeah, it is. Fortunately,
I hope it does scare a lot of young people off from riding motorcycles.
Well, yeah, there's that point where it's like we look
I hope that like only lets the right people get into. I mean,
well, you gotta understand, like someone like me looks at it from a different perspective because I make a living.
Yeah.
You know, you make a living now off it too, but I make a living in a kind of a different way by working on bikes. So when there's more people that like a style of bike, that provides, you know, work for me because I provide a luxury to a luxury. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so, and a lot of people like me or Matt Jackson that are building bikes need these things to be popular enough to where they have work so they can stay, feeding their family and shit like that. So even though like I don't feel like we're at that point where there's nothing going on in the industry and I'm wondering where my next check is coming from, it's nothing like that. But you see bigger companies doing that because they've built such a huge business they can't be sustained with the lower numbers of people riding bikes these days, is basically what you're seeing happening. So, to my knowledge, I think the Buffalo Chip just bought like another 800 acres or some shit, and they're trying to expand for the new the 80th. Mm-hmm. And they're trying to figure out how to get people to stay at the Buffalo Chip and not go anywhere else in Sturgis. And my thoughts were like, I don't want to go to Sturgis to be stuck in a campground the whole time. Like, there's so much.
Have you been to the Buffalo Chip?
Yeah.
The place is fucking badass, dude.
So is Sturgis. The entire Black Hills is badass.
Dude, the first time I went to Sturgis, I didn't even know there was anything else outside of the Buffalo Chip.
You're one of those guys.
Oh, fuck.
Did you go watch Snoop Dogg and everything, too?
No, I left for that this year. I opened up for Snoop Dogg on my race bike and my chopper.
There you go. Well, I like that there's places like that there to go, but I don't think it's a smart business idea to create a place where people are going to go from all the country and not leave it and not go see the riding or go see the monument or go experience the Sturgis, experience. So, I don't know. What I'm saying is, like, it's probably not the best business idea to create a bigger business that relies more motorcycles to come in rather than making it smaller so that you can sustain yourself.
Dude, I think Woody knows what he's doing.
Let's hope.
Woody, last year, did you see how many people were in the Buffalo Chip? Just from the outside the fence looking in, it was the most people I'd ever seen. Like, it was it was
cost
filled
to
up.
Get into the Buffalo Chip?
A lot of money, dude.
Yeah. That's a lot of
money.
money.
Obviously, a lot of those people, like, have no problem paying that money.
Yeah.
Like, there's going to be a fuck ton of people that go next year. He's got Willie Nelson and ZZ Top playing at the Buffalo Chip. Where the fuck else are you going to be on those nights?
Yeah.
Than in front of the stage with your fucking bagger with your Fast Life Garage paint job, revving it up to the RPM blocker, whatever the fuck, rev limiter. Did I just say RPM blocker? You guys like that? The rev limiter at the end of every ZZ Top song.
Yeah, there you
and
go.
smoking all the weed while Willie Nelson's playing. I don't work for the Buffalo Chip, but I'm telling you, you're going to be fucked up if you catch me anyplace else on those 2 nights.
Agree to disagree. I'm not into it, man. I don't look at going all across, riding across country to be stuck in that. You know what I mean? Like, I want to go to the Buffalo Chip for the things that go on there.
Yeah, like Willie Nelson and ZZ Top.
Yeah, or the shows or like the Lichter show, things like that. Like, I love those aspects of the Buffalo Chip, but I don't fucking want to. I don't want there to be a store there where I have no reason to go see Sturgis. You know what I mean? Like, it's an experience. It goes back to like the podcast. So if the first podcast anybody ever listens to is a shitty one, they might not do it. If their whole idea of Sturgis is just the Buffalo Chip, it's not going to appeal to everybody the same way it has for 80 fucking years. You know what I mean?
I don't know, man. The Buffalo. I mean, if you were gonna go
saying
someplace
it's not cool
and meet up with a bunch of your friends from all over the country, and money wasn't an issue, you would do it at the Buffalo Chip, right? Because once you get there, you can ride your bike around all fucking shit-faced and go buy some beer, go to the show, go to the strip club. You can go see Michael Lichter's show. You can go to the FXR show. And then the next morning, you can wake up halfway sober and go ride some of the most epic roads that Sturgis has to offer, and then go back to the Buffalo Chip that evening.
Well, that's what I'm talking
for Willie
about.
Nelson.
So that's what I'm saying is that from the pitch that I was given is that they're trying to get you to not leave the Buffalo Chip. They want to create this.
Well, because people come in and just stay there for a night or two. Like, they'll only stay for the Willie Nelson night, and then they'll go stay to other places the other nights.
Yeah.
He wants a place that you'll come and stay the night at. He wants you to go ride. He knows that you'll keep coming back to the Buffalo Chip if you go and experience all the other stuff Sturgis has to offer. And the thing is most of the people at Sturgis, like, the riding shuts down as soon as it starts getting dark. Even before the sun goes down, everybody goes back to their campgrounds or wherever they're staying, like the Buffalo Chip. And he wants you to go back to the Buffalo Chip before the sun comes down.
I get that. And like I said, the way that was pitched to me sounded more like come here and don't leave, you know, and I didn't really want, I don't know, I didn't know if I wanted to support that at that moment in time. But like I said, some new information, like you just said. If it's that, then I agree to that.
I mean, and if it's not, I mean, it is whatever you make of it.
Yeah,
that's
true.
what I make.
You know, like I said, I want to get people to go to. I mean, you were one of the dudes that had no real desire to go to Sturgis for the longest, and then you went, and you seemed like you fucking loved it.
Well, I went before I started my podcast years ago and had a fucking great time. But then it's like, you know, it's one thing I'm fighting now is like, I don't want to go to the same shows year after year, but then there's also some shows that I don't ever want to miss because there's so much rad shit going on. And I feel like I almost owe it to Sturgis for all the people that I've met over the years to keep going back and seeing those people and supporting them and meeting new people. And
when you talk to a guy like Rick and you hear him go like, I've been to Sturgis for, what was it, like 7 or 30 years or something?
Scares me.
Is that not like, do you not want to have that kind of like thing to know that you've done it that long or whatever?
Do I want to be able to say that?
Yeah.
No. I mean, no.
Okay.
No, like I don't want to go to Sturgis. I mean, I want to go to Sturgis this year, but there's only 12 months. Like they're running out of time.
True.
Can I go to the same spot year after year after year and like keep denying some other shit that's happening at that point in the year? You know, like I'm not going to Daytona this year.
Are they even doing Boogie East this year?
Doing Boogie East this year. Yeah, absolutely. And I should be talking about it on the podcast more. But anyways, yeah, like I'm not going because some other shit has come up where, you know, I should be going to a different show every year. I shouldn't ever go to the same show twice. If I was like doing all my traveling based on like quote unquote business decisions, you know, like it would do me better to go to different shows and meet more people in other places and see different things. But
so what's one of the different things you're doing this year that you haven't like done?
The Mint 400.
When's that?
March 6th is the actual race.
Close.
My bike is in pieces. I don't even have any of the suspension components at my house.
Wow. So that, I mean, that's
and
cool.
the motor's in pieces.
Well, that would infringe on going to you know, Daytona because it's like the opposite side of the country.
That's why I'm not going to Daytona. Yeah.
So how, like, as far as like, what about like the Jackson's show, like the Time Traveler show? Like, is that? I mean, you've had a chance to talk with them on the podcast. Like, how do you feel about that show coming in and replacing Giddy Up and things like that?
I mean, I'm honestly not stoked about it because it's like it's at a fucking Harley dealership. It's like, oh, we're a parking lot show. I mean, Matt and you know he's done a lot for the motorcycling community of Texas, so I support. You know, his show. I really wish I would have gotten to him sooner and convinced him to do his show at the Texas Fandango the next weekend.
Yeah.
Heaven forbid, Matt Jackson's Chopper Show is at the Texas Fandango where there's a swap meet, races, music. I mean, like, dude, that show last year, dude, it was so much fun. And it wasn't even a show. It was like just a party for a couple of days. There was vendors. There was like, I mean, that's what I feel like the heart of motorcycling is the swap meets, you know, like, if you don't get stoked about going to a swap meet, then
and Fandango's out towards Fredericksburg, right?
Dude, it's in Fredericksburg. It's at the oldest fairground in Texas. Nice. It's fucking rad. The whole thing is built out of wood. It's dangerous as fuck. It's like an old horse racing track.
What they call those things, velodromes or some shit? Oh, I don't know.
Murder drones?
Murder drones, yeah. Is that what it is?
No,
like one?
No,
okay.
fuck no.
That'd be awesome.
No.
What with Fandango, like I didn't get a chance to go last year, but it does sound like it's a good, promising thing. That was kind of the same conversation that me and Scott from Simpson had about the Texas Time Traveler show. Is it like what's going to make it different from any dealership show across the country? You know what I mean? And but I love New
Why
Braunfels.
does it have to be different?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like what? Well, why would people want to ride from California like they would to Giddy Up to go to a show that they do in California all day long? You know what I mean? Quaid, San Diego Harley, you know, Top Rocker, all these dealerships do shows in parking lots.
Because because if Matt invites them, I mean,
yeah, that's what I'm
Matt's
saying.
the reason, maybe not just the reason, but he's part of the reason that people would come from California to Giddy Up.
Oh,
right?
for sure.
But a lot of people that come to Giddy Up are from up north who can't ride in March.
Yeah.
So like they're stoked to come down to Texas and offload their chopper and ride around the hill country. That water's not cold to them. You know, it's fucking warm.
But that's what I'm more. I plan on going because I really love the town of New Braunfels and I love being around there, going to the campgrounds. You know, some of my favorite memories of changing my life in the motorcycle industry or community was that first year at Giddy Up. You know what I mean? Camping with Mike and all the homies and shit like that. That really set me on another path. And so, like, seeing that show kind of go away and it being replaced with something, it's scary but exciting, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
You're scared, aren't you?
I want it to be fun, man. Like,
It's good. I mean, it's what you make of it, but it's in different hands now. I think anything really cool doesn't last forever anyway. So,
true. Yeah.
It being in a parking lot of a Harley Davidson dealership, you know, it's definitely going to lose a lot of the flavor.
I mean, are you gonna have like a chick with her tits out singing on the stage like the last, what was it, last year, the year before?
Yeah,
That was pretty cool. I love boobs.
I mean, I hope to God we have that this year.
Well, I mean, it's a dealership show, man. You gotta keep it PG for the kids at the bounce house, man.
I don't know, man.
I'm excited that there's something replacing it, period. It sucks how, you know, the shit that went down that kind of separated it, but I think you had a good point. You know, a lot of good things do come to an end, and now they're just memories that we're going to talk about over the years in these podcasts and conversation. But hopefully, you know, with that show and with Fandango coming along and creating another event, it's going to allow us here in Texas to still have really rad things to do. You know what I mean? How do you feel about, like, what's the other one that goes down, the Hand-Built show, and, like, how that's turning into this big, like, motorcycle weekend in Austin? You know what I mean?
Dude, I haven't figured out why people are so stoked about the Hand-Built show.
Not either. I'm not. I'm on your side.
There's
on that.
some rad bikes in there, and
It seems like a hipster thing to do, though.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure what the allure is to the Hand-Built show, but people are really stoked when they get invited to it. I hadn't never been until last year, and I just went because of the races, which they've been doing the races there for a few years now. But it's a cool event. It's just it's a bike show. I mean, I'm not real stoked on any things that are just bike shows.
True.
You know, like, not that I'm not stoked on them, but there's just other things that get me more excited.
I think that as far as the show, or that show at least, it seems like they put these bikes on such a pedestal, which they actually do in the show, and it's so vast of different styles of bikes. So I'm not really into metric bikes, right? Don't really care. You know, I want to see the Harleys, and I like, you know what I mean? I'm kind of a Nazi in that kind of way. I don't want to fuck with these other bikes. I don't really care about
And
them.
see, now I'm the complete opposite. Like, one of my favorite shows last year was the One Moto show that happened last week. I didn't go this year, but last year that show was so badass because there was everything there, like custom dirt bikes with like chainsaws on the front of them.
Okay, I have no idea.
It was sick, dude.
Shit.
It's so sick. Like, and having them all there in the same place, it was like going to the Mecum auctions the other day. Dude, there's like a 1984 CR500 next to a 1919 Excelsior. And fucking hundreds of bikes.
How is Mama Tried?
I
I've
like
never been to
all
that.
motorcycles.
Yeah, I
All
like
of 'em.
some of them. I like some of them.
You like a small percentage of them.
I don't have enough bandwidth in my head to give a shit about every fucking bike out there. I just don't. Like, I have so much going on that, like, it's kind of like the same thing. Like, if I got into other shit, I would get into it to the point where it would take up a lot of time in my head. You know what I mean? And so I can appreciate a badass build or something like that all day long, but I'm not going to go out of my way and start, you know, not saying that you are, but I'm not going to start following, like, you know, vstars.com and fucking checking out all their stuff. Like, I just don't care enough. Even seeing, like, stock old bikes doesn't do anything for me. Seeing, like, your bike or a chopper that's been modified is awesome to me. Seeing how people make trinkets, make it cool, make it theirs, I love that. But seeing an original, you know, generator shovel from 55 or 65 or some shit like that, or whenever they were doing it, doesn't fucking do anything for me. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I'm going to a Dallas auto show and seeing new cars coming out next year. Like, I want to see things that were taken and then modified. That's what excites me with bikes, cars, anything. So I already cut that out. Like Harley or not, like I don't care about factory shit. You know what I mean? So
I don't even know what to say to that. I really don't. Like,
yeah,
no appreciation for the mechanical workings of a 1955 panhead. Just it doesn't do nothing for you, huh?
it's not that I don't appreciate what was made. It just doesn't. I've seen that before. I grew up in a restoration car business with my dad. You know what I mean? And then we're sitting here making this.
Did you just say restoration?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that what? That's how you say it, right?
I don't know. You're the one that was in that business.
So we would take. Fuck, I'm like questioning myself now. So we would go work on these old cars, and it's exciting to see people working on a project and be excited about it. That part is fun. Like regardless, even if they are putting back a stock numbers matching car, I get it. There's something that's making you happy, and I'm stoked for you. But it's like I'm sitting here looking at these hot rod magazines, like fuck, man, that car could be this, but we're on fucking Auto Trader, in the catalogs at the time, so we didn't have the internet, trying to find original bumpers and shit for the same to make it look like that, and it just wasn't exciting to me. Because it's like you already see the end product, right? If you're restoring a car to be original, you know exactly what it's going to look like when it's done. As opposed to if you're customizing it and making it something different that you thought up, every time you add that next layer of things that you're putting on, it's like, fuck, like this excitement builds up, and you're creating something that you haven't seen yet. You know what I mean? And that part is something that I enjoy a lot more than, hey, it's back to factory.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's just like an appreciation I have for the way they did things back then.
True.
And sure, you can make a custom bike, right? Mm-hmm. You can build a custom bike. But can you do it to where you can effectively produce this,
True.
10,000 custom bikes and sell those to the people? I just appreciate the fact that that's the style that did it for them back then, and how they made it all work, and we're able to produce some of that shit on a big scale. And then seeing what people do with them after that is awesome as well. But, knowing where they came from, seeing stuff that's like.
So on that note, if I was privy to that, to see the workings of the creation of that, I would be stoked about that. Like if there was a documentary or some kind of documentation, a book or anything on the process of creating, that first panhead motorcycle or that first shovel head, like where they were at, that would be fascinating to me. The creation.
Yeah, that's why I think the more you learn, the more you'll appreciate.
Yeah.
Because that stuff's out there.
Oh, it is? Okay, because I just haven't.
Like the reason that bike of Todd sold for $200,000 was because of the documentation.
Oh, for real?
In the stories that it was tied to,
okay.
which gave it the,
Well, I guess then it goes back to my first statement, whereas bandwidth. I don't know if I have enough care to really go down the rabbit holes and learn. And
I feel like, a lot of people, they revert back to that stock stuff. Even the dudes that rode choppers for years, they end up appreciating the stock product, even whether it's new or old.
One of the things that kind of like, as I got privy to like all you guys in the vintage chopper scene, if you will, at first I didn't really get it, and I've made comments to you and also Tim O'Keefe. We talked about it, and I didn't really get the whole concept of customizing something to look like something they had done already. Like it was already a style that someone created and lived, 40 years ago, right? So why are we doing it again now instead of putting our take on it? And then that was like surface looking at it. And then after talking with people and seeing that the appreciation for what it was an allure to a lot of people. You know what I mean? Like I wanted to create this, style of bike to honor the type of style of bike that got me into bikes or my dad rode or whatever, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I started to understand more of the inner workings of the mind for people to want to do that versus, because at first, surface value, it's like, oh, these dudes all want to have vintage shit. So that's it, period. Like I want old shit on my feet, old shit on my, clothes. I want old shit house. Like everything was about old stuff, which I get, you know what I mean? And so I just didn't really have the understanding of the connection between why, at first. I do now.
You do now?
Yeah, I get
How
it now.
How did you gain that?
Just conversations, like, having opinions about things that are kind of uneducated at the time. But those uneducated opinions got me in conversations to where I could ask questions and get different perspectives. And so talking to, FXR Mike was a big help in understanding a lot of it. And Tim was a real big understanding because I made comments like, dude, like, why do y'all do these flames?
When Tim's so good at like explaining things.
He makes me stoked about it.
So good about putting words together.
Yeah.
Like my bike, I built more out of like that just being what I was able to do. Like I wasn't after like building an old looking chopper. I just had to get some old shit that was like easier for me to wrap my head around at the time so that I could re-engineer it to some degree.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense to me now. Like I said, I've figured or I've understand it now. And after you look at something for so long, you start to see past that surface layer of like a build, like an actual.
Yeah.
Like
so one day you'll be that way with stock bikes. You'll be like,
let's hope. Yeah.
Fuck, dude, a 65 Panhead was the first year of electric start and the last year of a Panhead. That's pretty fucking cool. I mean, I see and then
it,
you
I
see like
it in your eyes,
1923 Indian that had electric start. You're like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know, man.
I don't know if it was 23, but it was one of those early Indians. They were like, we figured out how to do an electric start, motherfuckers. Now, it didn't work very well, and it didn't last. But
since had to do it, yeah. No, I get it, man. It's been a learning experience, and it's.
So how was your brand loyalty? You like
Me?
totally against Indians?
I'm pretty hardcore with that shit, man.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you painted an Indian? Will you paint an Indian?
I've made comments before. I think I've done it on the podcast where I said I wouldn't paint one. I won't even paint a Biltwell helmet, if that makes sense.
You won't paint a Biltwell
I'll
helmet?
paint a Biltwell helmet, I won't paint a lane splitter. Because it's a knockoff of a Simpson. I don't really. I mean, I'll paint bells. I love bell helmets. I'll paint Simpsons. I'll paint just about anything. But it's kind of, to me, it's kind of like shitty just to straight knock off someone's design of a helmet. And it's clear that helmet was designed to knock off the Simpson. And then they called it a lane splitter to kind of fit the culture that Simpson had become a part of. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Plus I got like 20 Simpsons on deck that I got to paint, so I really don't have, and they're cheaper helmets, right? And if I'm charging $1,500 to paint a helmet, some people that have only spent $200 on a helmet aren't really seeing the value in that, or they don't, you know what I mean? Like I don't want to put $1,500 worth of paint on a $200 helmet. You know what I mean? So
I don't want to put $15 worth of paint on anything.
Yeah. Some of us, well, you're lucky that your boys with Scott from Chemical Candy then, because that's what it probably would have cost to get that tank done.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But as far as the Indian,
but I wouldn't have it done.
Yeah.
I mean,
got good
I
friends.
love Scott to death, but I was gonna rattle can that
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
And Scott was like, "No, dude, fucking." And then I just wanted flames, and then next thing you know, there's a fucking devil goat with bat wings with a naked chick. I'm like, fuck yeah.
Well, see, that's what's cool about it.
I might have paid if
if
I'd have known how cool it was, like now that I know,
so
I might.
Let me paint this picture for you. Let me paint this picture. So that tank, right?
Okay, you're good at painting pictures.
All right.
You as good with your mouth as you are with your hands?
No.
Okay.
I'm not.
Let's try.
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, so on the topic. That paint job, right? So let's just say that tank from Scott would have been $1,500. Scott's he's a very well-respected, known guy in the custom paint world. So have his art should mean something to anybody that has it. Now, you take just that alone, and you add it to the fact that you owned it, and you did all the shit you did with that tank and that bike. That tank, to me, if it isn't to you, would be so valuable to a collector in now or in 20 or 30 years. Like, it would be worth so much to know, like, man, this is the tank that fucking Danger Dan did all those trips all over the country and blah, 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 and this and that.
Dude, you're making me blush.
Let's show him. Let's transition that shit.
Dude, I'm like waiting and hoping that tank cracks so that I can pull out my welder and just weld over Chemical Randy's paint. Like
Such an asshole.
I know. Right now, it's my steering stop, dude.
Yeah.
If my bars flop over, the steering stop is my tank hitting the bars.
So regardless of whatever has to happen to the tank to keep it on the road, like, would you ever get rid of it?
I mean, yeah, I would get rid of it.
The tank?
Fuck yeah.
God, come on, man. I mean, under what circumstances? Someone came to you right now and like, hey, man, I'll give you $1,500 for that tank.
Oh, no.
But like
I'd sell him my whole bike for like $2,000. No, I'm just kidding. Like, I wouldn't. I don't know. I mean, I think part of the reason that I want that tank to break is so I can hang it up and get him to paint me another one.
Yeah. Well, that's what it is.
No, I don't know. It's. I mean, I've thought about selling my bike multiple times because it would be so much more efficient for me to like build an Evo chopper.
Yeah.
And not have to rebuild the motor every 20,000 miles.
Yeah.
And have a bike, and do something with that money, like put it back into my podcast, like get some sweet microphones like this or like a camera, I could maybe buy one camera for my chopper. Yeah. And then I take like one step back and think about the thoughts of selling my chopper, and I'm like, fuck all y'all, cancel the podcast before I get rid of my bike.
That's, man, I wish I would. I mean, I regret taking apart my FXR all the time. Like, every day it's like I'll see it somewhere. I'll see it on my phone somewhere, right? I'm like, fuck, man, that thing was badass. But at the time, like, I just didn't value it the same way I value it now that I don't have it.
Well, and you always talk to that old guy. It's like, I wish I never would have gotten rid of my first bike. Yeah. And you talk to the guy who has his first bike,
Yeah. Like,
it's
like
always
Rick.
the guy that doesn't have his bike that's got better stories.
True, yeah. Well, because there's actual emotions that go into not thoughts and things. Like, fuck, man, like, I remember that bike. Like, you think about it a lot differently than when it's sitting there all the time,
Yeah, well, and, I mean, it's also like a curse. Like having my van now with that sick-ass flame drive on the side. Yeah. Like, I can't just sell my van and get another van now.
Yeah.
Like, now I have to, like, rebuild. I have to build another motor and stick it in that van.
Yeah. Well, yeah, so at the same point, like, to own something forever means a lot. Like, you keep putting money into it, right? So you $20,000, you drop another, some motor work into it, another one. Next thing you know, like that $10,000 bike or build or whatever the case would be over the course of 20 years is now a $40,000 bike or build or custom.
No, it's not, because I've gotten all that money out as the time goes by. So to me, like, my bike is, I wouldn't sell it because I couldn't rebuild it for the amount of money it's worth, right?
Exactly.
But at the same time, like, you asked me about my helmet or my tank, if I would sell my tank. Dude, if I thought it was going to bring a fuck ton of money, I probably would, like, do a charity. Like, I'll sell if my tank would bring more than $5,000, or, that's a high
fair.
number.
No,
but
I mean, I think it's fair.
If it would even bring it close to that, I would think about, like, all right, well, fuck, let's buy a bunch of toys. Yeah. For some kids. If somebody's willing to put up that amount of money for that tank, I would think about selling it in a heartbeat. But I guess I never thought about that until you brought it up.
Well, I mean, think about, like, when you hear people find tanks that were painted by people back in the 70s, or this was a tank that was on this guy's bike. Like, those nostalgic things, I think, playing to the whole idea of this vintage chopper thing, like, it makes sense to now have created those type of little trinkets that are worth money or worth value in some form or fashion to people that followed along your journey as a podcaster and as a traveler on your bike, and the fact that there's more or less a famous guy that painted it. You know what I mean?
Oh, he's famous.
Oh, he's so dude.
Famous.
I texted him the other day. We were talking. I was like, because I know he doesn't like doing podcasts. I know he didn't even want to do yours the first time.
Yeah.
And I was like, so, man, what's it going to take to get you on the podcast? Crickets. He's like, man, I just don't like doing them, man. I was like,
I ask him, like, weekly.
Weekly?
Yeah. Hey, we're going to sit down and talk with microphones, bruh.
I'm going to get him to come over here and just mic up the room. Like, hey, no, mic's off.
You get him in this room, I'll be shocked.
Yeah, for sure. He doesn't. But, yeah, that's the kind of thing, too, and that's kind of what's been happening with us and the helmets is, like, people are paying a lot of money for them, so there's a much different value that they're already placing on the helmet paint job before. Like, they're not looking at it, or I've been trying to help get people to look at buying a helmet from us as something that they're investing in themselves and having a piece of art, not just like, I want a paint job on my helmet. You know what I mean? And, like, as far as going back to the original question about, like, the Indians, like, I really like the FTR. I thought it was a really badass bike when it came out. I just haven't seen much progress with it. Like, as far as, like, you got this bike that comes out and and the internet goes crazy because it's faster, it's inverted front end, it's suspension, it's all this shit that Harley isn't. And then since that bike has been released, 5 of my friends have bought new Softails. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't see it like crossing over into the real Harley. You know, I don't know if you're going to really pull that many Harley guys off of Harleys to go put them on these bikes, regardless of what you throw on them. You know what I mean? What do you think?
I want one.
Yeah?
I want one of everything.
You like all bikes, remember?
I like everything.
Yeah.
What do you think about the new adventure bike Harley's going to put out?
I don't know. Now, I will say that I'm a huge fan of the like BMW adventure bikes. I don't know why I'm into the BMWs more than the KTMs or the Honda Africa Twin or whatever the fuck it's called. But I just dig the BMWs. I guess because I started following a fucking page like GS BMWs or something, and they got these rad ass shots of people like riding BMWs. And now in my head, when I think of adventure bikes, I think of the BMW. And before I bought my bagger that I currently have, I was literally weighing like, should I buy a BMW or this Road Glide? And I wanted the BMW. But the Road Glide panders to my business of painting and the people that I, paint bikes for, versus that would completely be a personal purchase, not a business purchase. You know what I mean? And I don't have the kind of money to have that luxury to just buy shit that doesn't also.
So Harley's adventure bike would fit perfectly into what you're.
It's possible.
They would work out for your personal side and your business side.
It's possible. I don't have a lot of faith in Harley's consistency right now. You know what I mean? Because they're stepping into a completely different platform of motorcycle, right? A completely different world. BMW, even Honda, KTM, they've created like a vast network of these bikes. So if I get an adventure bike, it's so that I can ride to Argentina, right? Well, they got dealerships and things along the way to do that. And Harley's seems like they just have places to buy T-shirts from like Rio and fucking here's a T-shirt place in Argentina. Like, I don't know if they're going to have the network or the support to provide the service these bikes might need to do intercontinental travel on them. You know what I mean?
People who buy Harleys don't look at all that bullshit. Okay.
True.
Right?
I agree.
I think that it's going to do great because there's a lot of people that ride Harleys that would love to have an adventure bike to ride on the mud, but they're not gay enough to buy a BMW.
True.
So that adventure bike that Harley's putting out is like, well, at least it's a Harley.
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited for it. I really am. I'm excited for the new motor, see what it does. It already sounds like it's going to be doing some much better numbers, being the fact that it's a water-cooled engine and stuff. I'm stoked. I just don't know if I would buy it for at least 5 years. If they can prove that they're going to continue to support the idea of doing this bike for 5 years, then I feel like it'll have enough bikes on the market and enough back support from the brand to buy an adventure bike from Harley versus going to someone that's already been here for 20, 30 years. You know what I mean? Doing it. It's almost like Harley is the Indian in the adventure bike market. You know what I mean? So they're trying to capture this other market by creating a product that has a brand name and recognition, but they haven't proven themselves in that market yet.
Yeah, I don't think they're building it for the people in that market. They're building
yeah.
it for the people in the Harley market.
Yeah, to keep them from going to that market, right? Because so many people
to have them so that they will cross over.
I feel like a lot of people have gone from like a touring bike to an adventure bike.
Well, and there's a lot of people that are just riding more off-road now because there's not any fucking cars with drivers that are on their phones texting in the woods, Like,
yeah.
How many people have you talked to recently like, I don't really ride much, man, because my commute is like in traffic. You know, like they're just worried about people on their cell phones.
Exactly.
Not that they shouldn't be, but that seems to be
riding
pretty
bikes.
common.
Yeah.
People are worried about this texting driver.
True, I agree, man. A lot of people would ask me about like riding on the dirt. Like I don't really want an adventure bike so that I can just go dirt riding. That's not really. I want to be able to do it. My whole concept was, if you're riding through a country that doesn't have paved roads, or you're going down a path that doesn't have the option of having a paved road, and you have the bike that can do it, as opposed to like, what's the one, it's not the Transcontinental Trail. What's the one that goes east and west? That's like all off-road.
Transcontinental.
Is that it? Oh, I'm thinking of Pan America. You said Pan American Highway earlier, right?
No.
You didn't. You said Transcontinental. Okay. Well, you heard of the Pan American Highway?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I was thinking whenever you said that earlier. My bad. Dyslexia.
I mean, my Harley Davidson chopper is an adventure bike, dude.
True.
I've ridden that thing on more dirt roads than most people have ridden their BMW.
True.
Maybe
I agree.
not. That might be a stretch, but
Probably not. I mean, there's probably a lot of people that buy into the BMW just so they can go to the local pub that the BMW riders go to. They never go anywhere.
You think
with
they have that kind of cult following, like Harley?
Yeah.
They have BMW bike nights?
Yeah, dude. They
For
do
real?
them on Greenville. Yeah.
For real?
Yeah.
Damn.
It kind of also
I'm getting one.
it kind of goes into the whole like cafe scene too.
Oh, the cafe racer guy, huh?
Yeah. So the cafe scene and
You
the
paint a lot of cafe racers?
I have in the past. Yeah. Yeah. Here's the thing about the Indians and painting those. Like, I would paint an Indian, right? But I don't paint a lot of baggers in general because they're a lot of work, and the amount of price that I have to charge to do it, it weeds. Not that they can't afford it. It's just that they don't. It's not valuable to them. Like, they don't value it enough to drop $10,000 to $12,000 on a paint job to have all these bags and all this shit, right? And a lot of that has to do with just the rising costs of doing this for a living. Like, say, for instance, for example, like I was on the phone yesterday bitching to Matrix, the company that I use for paint, because, and it's not their fault, but the jobber that I have never raised, every year paint prices go up. So no matter what, this paint was $60 last year, and then like they almost like they give themselves a raise every year. Now it's what I say, $60. Now it's $70. So it went up like 5% or whatever the case may be. Well, what happened was some of the jobbers couldn't sell the shit, so they kept the price the same. And then when they had to, because after 6 years, it went from $260 to now $320. So now it's a $60 increase, and I'm like getting hit with it at once. You know what I mean? And that's just one product. Then you add up all the products that are down there to make a paint job. Next thing you know, I've always quoted, like, to do a bagger, single color, I'm basically $1,200 in materials. Now to do a custom paint job on a bagger, I'm almost $2,500 in materials. That's just shit that I'm not making it. That's what it costs me to buy the chemicals to make this paint job. Mm-hmm. And then you add a business, a shop, if I ever get around to paying taxes, things like that. And now $10,000 ain't shit for a paint job on a bagger. It's nothing for the amount of time it takes to do it. And so I try to avoid them just so that I honestly don't think they're worth paying $12,000, $13,000 for a paint job. It's just not. It's so much money. Like, you could put a down payment on a house for that kind of money. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna put some paint on a fucking, like, I just don't. It's making it so hard to stay painting bikes. You know what I mean? Even though I plan on it, but then going to helmets, going to small chopper tanks, going to soft tails, smaller bikes, you can still get $4,000 to $5,000 to paint these bikes all day long across country. And since it's a third of what a bagger is, it's still only costing me $1,000 to get the paint versus $2,500. Right? I don't know how we got on that. You look tired now.
Keep talking about paint, I might go to sleep.
There you go.
No, I'm just kidding. I don't. Yeah, you're talking about shit I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't even know what we got on that for. But
Indians. I asked if you'd paint an Indian.
I'll paint an Indian, but I just don't know if. I mean, I don't think I could paint a bagger. I mean, it'd have to be a lot
Honda?
of money. Yeah, I mean, I've done it before. I won't paint a gold wing.
You won't paint a gold.
No, and they get so pissed, dude. They call.
How
all the
many
time.
gold wing people call you up and ask for a paint job?
Once a month.
No way.
Yeah, once a month they call up. They want something, and then,
How many times have they been like, "Man, I saw the gold wing you painted last week"?
I haven't painted a gold wing since probably 07 or 08.
Oh wow!
And I didn't even paint the whole thing. We just put like some Indian feathers on it, around it, But the thing is those bikes have so many parts, and I have no fucking idea how to take it apart. And most people these days want to avoid the dealership at all costs, right?
Yeah.
And they'll have an Indian or a Honda. They'll have this. They'll have
What
all
do we
kinds
got on this? We got to get off paint, dude. Fuck. Being on the road for extended. Dude, I like how you made that 2 words into 1 word. Is it hard not to pursue and give this podcast everything you got, like you don't want to half-ass it? No, I feel like that's my key to success is half-assing my podcast. That's how I've been able to keep going and keep doing it.
Do you feel like you get to these points where you're you have like opportunities to take it to other levels or to do more with it, and like you don't want to like pass up those things? And what I was kind of getting at with those kind of questions is like being on the road and doing all the stuff you're doing, like that has to impact your wife and kids and that relationship going on. So how does, without getting detailed, but how does that kind of like work, and how do you manage
How do I
it?
make that work?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like it's a challenge that I fight every day.
Mm-hmm.
Like even when I'm here in town for an extended amount of time, it's, dude, it's not easy, like I got an amazing wife, but I can't act like our relationship is flawless, like she lets me do what I want to do, but there's also, there's also things that I have to do. I do extra because of that.
Yeah.
Dude, that's a tough one. Like, I don't know how to make it work.
Just kind of working. Yeah.
Just kind of like,
What
sometimes
about
it feels like I'm just barely hanging on,
Yeah. Well, so, for me recently, and this is what I was kind of getting this question was coming from, because you travel a lot more than I do. And even my own kids, like my daughter, she's 18. And so she sees how much effort I'm putting into this to create something out of it. And, comparing that to some other kids at her school's parents, you know what I mean? And so there's this kind of weird thing where it's like, do you feel like you have something here that you have to keep giving all this attention to, regardless of whether you say it or not? Like, you're putting effort into this podcast that you're building.
Absolutely.
And so, like, half-stepping at some point could put you behind on the list or put you behind in it or its growth. Like, do you ever think about or trying to frame this question, like, do you get a lot of blowback and people don't understand why you're doing it,
No, fuck,
I don't know. It's weird, right? It's just weird.
Am I going to be able to keep doing this like a year from now? Is it going to be worth doing, or is there somebody that's going to come in and like do exactly what I'm doing better and more effectively and efficiently and make more money at it so they can do more things? Or are they going to be backed by the right people and have the right money? It's a possibility, I would like to keep talking to people forever, but I feel like that's also sometimes like the biggest flaw with the podcast is like I'll set up these shows, I'm going to talk to these people, and then I get to there and I'm finally talking to them and they're kind of like regurgitating their story about how they got into bikes, and then I'm like, why did I even set this up? Like, what do I want to know from this person?
Yeah.
So then I step back and like, why did I even ask this person? I've done this like in the middle of a podcast, like during a conversation. I'm like, why the fuck am I here talking to this person? Like, what triggered me enough to want to come down and talk to him? Mm-hmm. And then I dig deep, and usually I find the answer, and I pursue that.
Yeah.
Fuck, it's all tough. Keeping it going is tough. I had some ideas about how the podcast was going to be sustainable in the future that didn't exactly work out like I wanted it to, so I'm trying new things. I feel like there's a possibility that this has to stop, or I have to find a new way to keep doing it. Like, like there may be a point where I have to go fucking sell bikes or something. Like I'm not opposed to doing other things. I feel like I want to give this all I've got. But yeah, there's going to be a point in time where like if it's not providing a happy life at home, then it's not worth doing.
True, yeah. I guess that's where it kind of gets, because it's not as certain as like a lot of people would take a career for. Like you go get a job and you just work this job forever, you get retirement. We're just sitting here funneling money, getting some back, being able to make a living doing this stuff. But at the same time, there's no guarantee that like, the magazine companies like Bonnier doesn't decide, oh, let's go fund, let's pay this dude $100,000 a year to go be a podcast host, and let's give him all the equipment and set him up to go over the country and do this. And, I've brought this up to other friends of mine before, and they've always said, well, and this is something I would relay to you, is like, no matter who comes into the podcast spectrum now, like they all got to catch up to what we've already done. And you and specifically. And
do they, though? Why do they got to catch up?
Well, they got to build their audience, too. I mean, you've cultivated an audience for the Danger Dan's Talk Shop over the last 3 years now, and 200-plus episodes. that they got to start. They have to start at 1, and you're at 2, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, they may not have as many as mine, but if somebody puts out a quality product, the way people listen to iTunes or Stitcher, like at the bottom of my show, when they have it pulled up, it says other podcasts like this.
Yeah.
You know, if they scroll down and there's there's Dump Trucks podcast, and Dump Truck starts doing better shit than me and consistently, and then they replace my podcast listening with Dump Trucks, and he could be on 4 episodes, and I could be on 400, and it wouldn't matter if he's putting out better quality content.
Yeah.
I like what I'm doing is, I feel like I'm connecting with people. I'm putting out honest feelings that are tough. You know, I've tried to not take on any sponsors because I didn't want to have to like
do what I did at the beginning of this podcast.
No, because then like. I want my listeners to come first.
Yeah.
You know, like one thing about Motorcycle Sherpa, you know, Bear asked me to be a part of Motorcycle Sherpa and go on a trip. And, you know, he didn't really ask anything of me. Honestly, he didn't ask anything of me. But I was like, fuck, I can't go over there and like come back and say it was a bad experience. You know, like I can't do that, you know, like that's not how this works. And I was like torn, you know, like, well, if I can't tell my listeners how I really feel, then I feel like that's not what I want.
Okay.
Luckily, over there, I had the most amazing, like, you can't even describe how fucking badass it was riding in Nepal. Like, I did a road show. I feel like I did a pretty good job of, like, catching the vibe and bottling it up in a way to kind of show my experience. But, dude, it was amazing. You know, like, to be a part of that was fucking awesome. But that's been my goal from the beginning, is like have some kind of just be listener supported.
Well, no, so you kind of touched on what I'm getting at. Is it like you've created a connection between the listeners and, you know, you are the show, even though like we both would agree that our guests are the show, having our guests on and their stories is what fills the content, but there's still that connection and that consistency because you're the guy there on every show, right? And so your perspectives and the questions you ask because of how you see it is what makes your show different from mine and everybody else. We can interview the same people, have completely different conversations. And I think that, like, what I was kind of saying originally is that you've already created that. You've already created a honest connection to your listeners. Like, as far as growing in the future and scaling and stuff, I could see how that would be, it could come into play when somebody else comes along with more backing and can spend more time of the day thinking about the conversations and writing down notes like this and shit like that. You know what I mean? But realistically, what still makes your podcast unique is you. You know, is your road shows, I know 100% are some of the most, they got to be some of the most listened to, right? You know, just because your take on the experiences you're having is interesting to hear from people, you know?
Yeah.
So on that note, like with this trip, I mean, like, dude, it has to be amazing to go there. What was it? How much of a different culture was it to get to like finally where Bear was and hop on a bike? And
dude, the people over there, it's like a different species. Like they're not even real human beings. So then they're so fucking nice. They don't even operate on any level close to what we operate over here. It was like going to a different planet and riding on a motorcycle. It was really amazing. And just getting there, you know, like a 15-hour plane ride, fucking 12-hour layover in China.
Yeah.
You know?
How was China?
Well,
did you start the coronavirus while you were over there?
I think so. I remember like getting like out of the airport at one point, and I'd been through security and customs for a while, dude. I didn't pack a lot of stuff in my bag, so I had a bunch of gear on. So I was sweating, dude. I already stink to begin with. Remember a couple of times, like, waiting in security, like, I remember catching a couple whips of myself, and I'm like, no wonder they all got fucking masks on over here, you know? Like, but yeah, I might have, dude. That place is just insane, really. They're, I don't know, man.
Where did you land in China at? What was the city you went into?
I don't remember.
Like, not Hong Kong or Beijing?
No, it was like northwest of Hong Kong in Guatsang or
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I don't
Good
know.
luck with that.
Yeah.
And so from there, you had to catch another connecting flight over to.
Yeah, then I flew to Kathmandu.
Nice. What is the premise of the Bears thing over there? Like, what y'all did? Like, what's the whole walk me through that if you can.
Well, Bear, he just wants to take people on experiences where you get to ride the highest roads on the planet, you know, and that's evolving every day. He's scouting out new roads, new ways to keep the experience fresh. So, like, you know, the trip that I went on will be just a little bit different the next time he does one because the tourism is constantly evolving over there, and he's got people on the ground over there constantly, like, finding places to go to that aren't blown out, you know?
Yeah. So
Like, one thing I was, like, curious, I'm like, all the places we stayed at were so amazing, but there's nothing on the website that says, dude, the places you're going to stay at are fucking nice. It says, bring a sleeping bag. You might sleep under a lean-to. That's what I thought. Like,
yeah.
And I was like, well, maybe he's saying that because it's better to be impressed than, like, let
and
down.
set the standards, yeah.
But no, it's just because he doesn't want the other tour companies to know where you're staying because then they'll show up there too. Because there's other people doing motorcycle tours. Like, Motorcycle Sherpa isn't the only company to go with. There's other options. You can go over there for cheaper. But I don't know. I mean, I haven't been on any of the other ones, but this one was fucking phenomenal. Booty, his guy on the ground with the team that they had, you know, they're following you around with parts, bikes, like everything. My fear was, you know, going all the way over there and, like, having to do what somebody else had planned just really didn't sound like the way I want to travel.
It's like,
you know,
being
like,
on the track going through a ride.
Yeah, but he doesn't tell you where you're going that night. Like, there's some sketchy shit, or it seems sketchy at first. And then, but come to find out, like, the reason he did all these things, like, all the critiques I had for him, like, you should do this, this, or this, he tells me why he does them that way, and I'm like, oh, that's why I don't have one of these companies. You know, like, you've thought about all this. You know, like, for once, like, or for one instance, we got a destination we're going to that day, right? They don't, like, tell you where you're going. You know, they say, follow us, you know, like, don't get out of line. Nobody got lost, but I'm like, dude, what if somebody got lost and they had to ask somebody for directions? You know, like, we don't even know where we're going. He's like, well, if you knew where you're going, there'd be people in the group that just decide to go there. They're like, we'll just meet you there.
Yeah.
And then it's like you rented a bike. Well, then if they don't show up, then you're, like, trying to find them. You're like, you can't find them in the other country.
Yeah.
So it was really, like, all the things that I was worried about ended up being, like, some of the coolest aspects, like not thinking about where we're going to stop and eat or drink or take a piss, you know, like
Just being able to absorb it all.
yeah, you just soak it in. Like, you're literally not worried about anything except for looking at everything, you know, and at any point you can stop. Like, if you want to stop on the side of the road and, like, take a picture, they encourage that. There's no, like, you got to hurry up and get anywhere. Like, if you're stopped for an extended amount of period of time and the last person in the group shows up, he just, like, hangs out with you.
Yeah.
And he'll finally get to a point where, like, all right, if we want to make it to where we're going before the sun goes down, we should leave now.
Yeah.
But
so I remember watching some of your Instagram stories, and it's like you'd have your camera out, and, like, this look on your face was so fucking, like, dialed in to what was going on, but you're still trying to show us. I was like, I've never seen that face on Dan. It's usually like this when I'm looking at now. It's
yeah,
like,
well, when there's a fucking cliff next to you and there's no road, like, there's just, like, this weird fucking muddy trail.
Yeah, dude, it looked amazing. So what was it like riding up there? Was it super thin air? Like, what was the elevation you were probably hitting? Do you know?
I think we got to, like, 17,000 foot.
Fuck, dude.
And then I stripped down naked and jumped in a pool of water.
Cold or hot?
Freezing. It was snow melt.
Wow. Why'd you do that?
Because I'm not real smart.
Cryo shop there.
I'm not real smart, dude.
Well, dude, when I did, you did Pikes Peak before, right? You ridden up that?
Dude, I thought I had, but I don't know. It was back when I was drinking. Like, I think I did ride that at some point, but
freaked me the fuck out, dude. I was Pikes Peak is like 14,000 feet or some shit.
Like 15.
I didn't even go all the way to the top. I was probably like maybe at 10 to 12,000 feet.
Yeah.
And just how slow you had to ride, and I'm on my bagger with all my shit on it, and it's slow, it's fucking windy as shit. Anxiety attack. I had to stop.
Once again, the bikes that were on, the team we had, like, they would dial the carbs each night to make sure that they're tuned. I mean, sure, they did get sluggish once we got up there pretty high, but at the same time, I'm, like, going slow to just look at all the rad shit.
Yeah, I think what was freaking me out, though, was, like, seeing the road, and then, you know, how that kind of cuts in and out of the mountain and curves. and then it's just sky. There's no like trees or anything to kind of like buffer between the sky and the ground and shit.
Yeah.
And I just got in my head and shit. So was it kind of like that in some of the things where you just like sky road death on the side?
Absolutely. Like what's craziest is when we got to the highest point, there was a beautiful blacktop road.
What the fuck?
Yeah, and they kept saying that. I'm like, yeah, whatever. No, it was like the prettiest blacktop road I've ever seen. It's because there's no fucking cars that ever drive on it.
What's the height of Mount Everest? What is that?
I think it's 27.
Fuck.
I mean, you got a fucking computer here. Maybe
Dude,
it's 32.
if I
I
pull
don't
it
know.
up,
It's fucking high as shit,
Probably
dude.
crash this thing. But no, that's I was thinking about that because I was thinking about your trip and everything. I was like, fuck, man, what's so you're at 17, so you're at least a third of the way up, or 2/3 of the way up, or even 3/4, depending on how you want to look at it. But that's fucking amazing. So once you got there, and was it just riding through that? Did you have to ride back, or did you leave from a different point?
No, we rode back.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Same way, or did you do like a loop?
No, we did it different ways. I mean, dude, we rode everything from like the most fucked up trails and I say they're fucked up, but there's buses driving down them.
Yeah.
Like insane buses and people riding 2 up on little bitty scooters. And you're like shocked that you can make it by yourself on the biggest motorcycle in the country. Like literally we're on the biggest motorcycles that country has to offer.
Yeah.
And then we'd be on pavement, dude. And you're like, they don't have like a custom car scene. They have like a custom dump truck scene, right? And all the trucks have got these crazy like metal details and shit on the front of them. And it's basically just to be like intimidating so you'll get the fuck out of the way so that you don't get ran over.
Yeah.
Because they're coming in hot, dude.
And so those roads you were on, that's people's daily travel to get to and from works and
yeah, we're on commuter roads.
Wow, and it's a fucking vacation for you.
And there's tons of tourists everywhere too.
Yeah.
Like it's fucking wild over there.
I'm trying to think. I don't have it connected yet to be able to switch it back and forth with the.
Hey Jamie.
Yeah. No, he's not here. Jesse has a job now, so I can't have him do it. But he's being responsible.
Somebody's got to be.
Somebody. I don't know. I want to do something like that. Where do you think, like, going forward, like, other than we've already talked about you wanting to do South America, is there any plans for Europe or Africa or any of those?
Absolutely.
Like, what are you thinking?
All of it. Everything.
Everything.
Yeah, like I want to ride the whole planet.
Nice.
I mean, I'm not much for ice riding.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be cool. Lichter hit me up last month, and he was like, hey, there's this huge ice race in Russia. Would you like to go? And I'm like, fuck yeah, I would like to go, but I got to build a race bike to race in the desert. I ain't got time to just fucking go to Russia, dude. But he was saying there's an 18-wheeler category. There's fucking helicopters and airplanes have signed up to race some giant race on the ice.
Wow.
Yeah, I want to ride Russia. I want to ride everywhere.
Yeah, I think.
The thing is, what do I ride?
Yeah.
What do I try and get my chopper to different places?
That'd be so.
Do I go rent bikes? Do I borrow bikes? So I really just been figuring out just as it happens.
It's crazy when you go see like YouTube videos and these people that like figure out how to do this shit on the cheapest like budget that we don't even cheaper than we live, right? But yet they're doing all this crazy shit, and then it's like I just don't see how it's possible in a lot of ways. But if they're telling the truth, it's possible. But I don't know, man. Like
it's not money, it's time.
Yeah,
time.
I feel
you got
like
family. That's the thing. Is like, how do you go do all those things? You can't take your wife on some of those trips. I mean, you could.
She'd be pissed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been telling my wife I want to go to Europe a lot, and I plan on doing it.
What do you want to do in Europe?
Fucking ride bikes.
Just ride?
Like I do want to go see Rome and Italy and I think it's the same spot. All these different places, but I don't want to do it on a train. I don't want to do it in a car. Like I want to rent a bike, and I want to decide when I want to go to France, and I want to go to there, and I want to ride the Swiss Alps and shit like that. I want to do it on a bike. I want to see these places for the first time as I'm coming through the town on a motorcycle. You know what I mean? To me, it just means a lot more than, jumping on a fucking tourism bus, a double-decker, and someone's fucking telling you, so this is the Eiffel Tower, and over here.
Absolutely. It's definitely going to be better than that.
And then like with podcasts and social media and making connections to these other people that live there that can show you the local hangouts. Like I want to experience that. I want to see I want to get transplanted into, like, for example, France. Like, dude, I want to know someone there. I want to go hang out with him. I want him to show me the bars he goes to and the shit he likes to do. And, you know, and that's the experience.
So going back to the motorcycle Sherpa trip, that's what the experience, that's why the experience was amazing. It was like,
yeah,
we were going to all the raddest spots because those dudes over there knew where to take us. You know, I started thinking back or talking about the different stories when I got back and realized that all the weird, fucked up restrooms I went to were like in places I decided to go to. You know, every place Bear was like, hey, we're going to eat at this place. They had good water. They had a restroom that you could use that wasn't just a hole in the ground. But all the other places I went to, like some of the bars that we found in Kathmandu, like there was some sketchy shit going on. So yeah, like being connected with somebody there that knows the ropes and can help you enjoy your experience. That way you're not going over there and spending half your time like troubleshooting, trying
where you want to eat it.
Fucking trying to find a place.
Yeah. So that's kind of the goal. Like, so this year, I'm going to do Northeast. I've never ridden up there, never even been up there, to be honest with you. So last night I'm on the phone with one of my homies that lives in like Harlem, I guess. I thought he lived in Manhattan, but it's Harlem.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ride up there and meet him.
Jace, I can't do it anymore. Hold on.
You got to piss?
I drank a bunch of coffee on the way here. I can't even listen to what you're saying now.
Awesome.
We're both be on the same camera for a second.
You're so... It's getting gay up in here.
Oh, how do I get out of here, man?
Looks like it's doing good, fellas. Unfortunately, like normally, if this was just a normal podcast, I could hit pause. But if I hit pause and shut down the live stream, then reconnecting, it's just kind of fuck it up. So you got to sit in silence with us. You guys liking this, though? Is this podcast sounding good, looking good on the YouTube thing? And once we release this on audio tomorrow, hopefully you guys will find out we did this on YouTube, and you can come to our YouTube channel and check it out and see it kind of in the flesh, if you will. Yeah, this is the first time we're doing this, and it looks like it's working out okay. So, sing something. You guys are nerds. But yeah, got a few more things to talk about with Dan, then we're going to wrap it up. But we're sitting at 2 hours and 21 minutes now, so made some notes. Trying to be professional. Good times. I'm not a comedian. The only joke in this room is me.
All right. So you want to go to the Northeast? You got a friend in Harlem?
Yeah. I got a friend in Harlem in Northeast, and so the goal is to ride up north and do a trip.
Tail the Dragon on the way up there, see Maggie Valley, go by Wheels Through Time and see all the old bikes you don't give a fuck about.
Not going to go to the museum. So I'm going to go to Atlanta, do a podcast, and then ride Smokies all the way up towards Washington, D.C., go see the Capitol, never been there. First friend I'm staying with is in Baltimore, and then the homie from New York is going to come down and meet us, and we're all three going to go to New York. We're going to spend like 3 days in New York just checking out the scene. He's going to show me all his spots, show me all the cool. He was telling me about doing some night riding in the city and talking about how
when the traffic dies down finally.
And then from there, we're going to ride Long Island out, hit take a ferry across to like Connecticut, and then go stay in Cape Cod, and then loop back around to Boston, and go up into Maine, go hit Mount Washington.
You got this thing planned out, bro. Yeah.
Well, I try to do it that way because, I'm doing this trip solo to the point where I meet these guys, right? And so that this is a different way of experiencing this. And I wanted to do it so that, say, for instance, someone that listens, one of the things a lot of our listeners get, I was wanting to do traveling on bikes and trying this shit. And some of them live in areas where they don't have homies that ride bikes. So their homies are guys like us on Instagram and podcasts. So doing it this way is showing them like, hey, you can be in Ohio by yourself and not have any homies who want to do this and link up with me or somebody else on a trip and do this stuff still and experience it. So that's kind of the goal. And then we're going to hit Laconia for like 2 days. And, you know, I think it'll be fun and great experience to see the Northeast and catch a couple podcasts, try to get this vlog thing off the ground going somewhere, you know, and show them a little bit of visual side of things. So that's the plan, at least. You doing any other, like, what's going to be your big bike trip that you're actually riding on this year?
Going south.
So you're planning on doing that this year for sure?
Yeah.
When's the start of that whole journey?
After the Fandango.
Damn, that soon?
Yeah, my bike's in pieces. I'm toying with the idea of riding the Sportster down there. Mm-hmm. Seeing a guy named Rob Rouser that I went to Nepal with down in Panama. Mm-hmm. And then boating over to Colombia or Peru and leaving the bike somewhere down there.
Have you looked at what it costs to do that?
Yeah.
Is it ridiculous or is it?
There's a couple ways to go about it.
Okay.
What, storing the bike or going on a boat?
On the boat.
Yeah, I mean, it can cost anywhere from like $300 to $1,300.
It's not too bad. I mean, if you plan it ahead, I mean, it's not bad.
No, it's not terrible.
But it does give you a destination you have to be at by a certain time, though, doesn't it? To get it across?
Yeah, if I were to book it ahead of time.
Okay.
You think I'm going to do that?
I don't know. Maybe not.
No, I mean, I think that's how y'all get a better deal. I either get a better deal or have to pay a lot more is if I'm like, if I show up and like, all right, you got an extra spot, you know? Oh, if I wait here for 2 days, it'll be really cheap. Or
yeah. It's cheaper
you
on
know,
Mondays.
like I like to just I don't like to plan too much.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you have to get like a satellite phone or anything like that to travel over there? Or how would you
do? You have to?
I mean, would it be smart
You
to?
don't have to do anything.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know? You can just get SIM cards as you go and travel to different places. Or you can get, like I don't know. I don't have a satellite phone. I don't know how to work a satellite phone.
Me neither.
Every time I like leave the grid where I'm off the internet, I'm like fucking sweet.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, I got to figure out how to communicate with my wife. But
Wi-Fi. They got Wi-Fi down there?
Yeah,
Wi-Fi?
dude, they got Wi-Fi everywhere.
Nice.
But places like China, you can't do a lot of things on their Wi-Fi.
Oh, that's right.
It's like you're not connected to the World Wide Web.
You're connected to their web.
The internet, you know? So that's the big trip, is either going down there by bike or I may just fly down there and rent a bike. That way, because, you know, Central America, that's the biggest thing I talk to other people that ride. They're like, if you can skip Central America, you'll be better off, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's not the most enjoyable. But I also feel like I could get the most, like it could be a podcast. Might be a pain in the dick for me, but it seems like whenever a trip is a pain in the dick for me, as long as I'm documenting it, my listeners are really happy that I have a terrible time.
In a selfish way, it'd be awesome to hear you go through that way. That way we would kind of have an understanding of what it would take
So
to
you
go
wouldn't
through.
have to?
No.
Like,
well,
we know what Dan went through.
Yeah.
We're definitely skipping it.
I want to do what you're talking about. So, like, however you end up doing this, it'll be something that I'm going to ask a lot of questions on or listen to the podcast and find out how I can plan my, you know, trip to do this.
Yeah.
You know, I just don't know if I want to do it by myself, though.
Well, so I recently have reached out to somebody. Actually, I haven't even reached out to them specifically, but I'm toying with the idea of bringing a video guy along who has a vlog and already, like, that way we can feed off of each other. You know, like, the dude does a vlog already. I do a podcast already.
Yeah.
You know, like, we can each do our own thing while traveling south.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
But I also have some people I'm meeting up with in Peru that, you know, there's some other things going on that I probably can't just, like, bring along somebody with me.
Yeah.
Into the jungle to see tribes that have, you know, dude, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Our main goal is like riding around in Peru. And
what's the allure to Peru?
I mean, the Amazon,
You
know, and my friend lived there for years. I always wanted to go down there and visit him.
Oh, yeah.
And now that I can, he lives in Colorado.
I fucking heard about that, yeah.
He grows dope in Colorado. I had him on the pod. It was a fucking wild podcast, but
he's the one that has that big dispensary, right?
he's got a big greenhouse operation,
Yeah.
And they recently, they might have just opened up their storefront. But he hit me up recently and was like, hey, we're thinking about going on a trip to Peru in May. Would you like to go with us? I'm like, well, fuck, I was going to ride my bike down there, so.
Does he ride at all, or
No.
not really?
No.
What about I got one of the guys I had on my podcast. He actually rode all the way from here up to Alaska and shit like that. He actually, I think, moved to Colombia, where his wife is from, and where I think he literally moved there. He's there now. He was actually listening on here not so long ago. But he lives there, and he said that, man, it's not that bad down there. It's chill as fuck.
Yeah, it is.
You know?
I mean, I was following a girl last year, beautiful girl, that rode an Indian around the country for like 3 or 4 months, like in the woods, hitting weird, military checkpoints. But from the research I've done, is like the military's been told, don't fuck with travelers on their bikes. Like, it doesn't do anybody any good.
Yeah.
Like, if you get a little bit of money at that point, all you're doing is scaring away other people that might do this, because they're starting to realize, like, how effective the internet is. Like, if one biker has a bad experience and he puts it on the internet on like ADV Rider or whatever he may use, fucking thousands of bikers are going to see that and not go traveling there. And a lot of those countries are making a lot of money off of tourists.
Tourism.
So they don't really want, like in Nepal, that was one amazing thing is they like sent somebody ahead with all our IDs and shit to all the checkpoints. We just blew right by them. The cops didn't really want to fuck with you because you're a tourist, and that's how the economy makes money. So I feel like that probably is.
That'd be I'd hope that that's how things are going. So, but it makes sense. I mean, fuck, like we're gonna get like a couple $100 off somebody versus, I guess it's just the nature of the situation. Like, how bad does that dude need some money?
Yep.
And do you have some? You know what I mean? But no, that sounds cool. So May with that, and then Sturgis again this year. Not bad.
Yeah, I think so.
That'd be good.
Yeah, I want to go up there and ride the Black Hills off-road.
Oh, that'd be sweet.
Like riding my bike up there, have my neighbor haul my dirt bike, and then ride my dirt bike for 3 days.
That'd be cool. There's
Go to ZZ Top and Willie Nelson.
Go spend the whole time at Buffalo Chip.
Go spend the whole time at Buffalo Chip. No, dude, my neighbor bought a campground right down the street.
Yeah, I heard you talk about that on the Rick Fairless podcast.
It's so sick because it's like quiet.
Mm-hmm.
I can go there.
I like that though. I like being away from all the shit. And
oh, me too. This guy, he wants to blow his camp. He wants his campground to be all fucking big and bad like Buffalo Chip. And I'm like, nah, dude.
Where's it at?
It's just I'm not fucking telling anybody. Secret, dude. I'm not trying to get nobody to go there.
Yeah, come on. Show us.
And that's my favorite part is like I can escape all the parties and go to his campground. He's got like a small bar where they like have home cooked meals. It's like amazing. It's like I went in there one day and they had like open faced, like what are those fucking flatbread tacos that were amazing, dude. Like you can't get those at a fucking food stand. You're looking at comments now, aren't you?
Yeah, I was
dude?
fucking
They're
reading
fucking
comments.
coming
I'm
in.
fucking
You
up.
gotta put it on airplane mode or something.
I was just trying to make, because they would tell us if the audio or something was fucked up, but
Oh, I'm sure it's fucked up.
nah, it's actually going fucking solid, man. But no, I want to do that. I actually, that sounds. I didn't even hear the last thing you fucking said.
But you want to do it. But you want to do it.
Yeah.
No, the campground in Sturgis, my neighbors. It's nice and quiet. It's like away from the party.
Yeah.
But just close enough where you can go to the Buffalo Chip within like 15
Is it
minutes.
on that side, like towards Buffalo Chip and all that shit, or is it like more towards the hills?
It's on the other side of the highway.
Nice. That's actually the place to be, man. In my opinion.
Yeah.
My favorite campground, which I've only stayed at 2 so far, but the one right at the corner of the main street, Lozelle, I guess is what it is, and the highway. It's called like Days Inn Campground. It's right by the McDonald's and all the shit that's right there. Fucking love that place.
That sounds terrible.
It's like the best because you sit in no traffic unless you're at the Buffalo Chip coming back. But if you're anywhere else and you're coming to Sturgis, you're right there off the highway. It's so easy to jump on the highway, go to Deadwood, go to Rapid City, all that stuff. And like you said, they got a bar on site. They got really clean bathrooms, which is really nice. They have food trucks on site. They have, you can go to the bar and buy a case of beer and take it back to your little tent and just drink there.
Well, that's what I told my neighbor. I was like, dude, if you're going to invest money, like make your bathrooms nice as fuck and then charge whatever you want to camp.
Yeah.
Because if you got really nice bathrooms, people will fucking pay money to camp there.
You can sleep on the ground and you can just kind of feel like shit from that. But if you can go take a hot shower and a nice shit on a nice clean bathroom, you're gonna get. Why do you think Buc-ee's does so well? They got good bathrooms. Like, you don't have to guess. I wonder if I'm gonna be able to take a shit in this bathroom on the side of the highway on my trip. And Buc-ee's has 400 clean shower or bathrooms in there. You know what I mean? Like, that makes a big difference in anything. Like, I plan my gas stops based on the fact that I might have to take a shit at this gas stop. You know,
dude, if you really got to take a shit on the road, just go to a hotel. Their lobby bathrooms are the nicest.
I never thought about that.
Really?
Yeah.
That's the spots, dude. If you got to, like, take a shit, stay, you know, like, camp wherever you want, and then the first exit, go to the nicest hotel.
Yeah.
And just wave at them like you stayed there that night and go find their bathroom and get a cup of coffee on the way out.
Fucking A, dude. It'd be so funny. You just pull up on your chopper, get off, go in.
Yeah.
They forget you're in there, and then you come back out.
Yeah, they're fixing to tow my chopper away, and I
Yeah.
roll out. I'm like, thanks for the coffee. I'm going to sit here and burn one before I go.
Oh, that's funny. Man, well, shit, we're at 2. We're good, aren't we?
I don't know, are we?
How's MC Shop Tees doing? How's that been going for you?
Dude, it's so awesome working with all these small shops that I find all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what's really cool is the first shop that I featured, Brown Cycles. He reached out. It's funny because I decided, all right, I'm going to start, you know, doing some sponsorship for the show.
Yeah.
Like, because I've just been telling everybody to go kick rocks. You know, I didn't want to do it. And the reason I started up MC Shop Tees was to help out small shops, you know, like, and because, you know, them supporting me or trying to advertise on my show, it's not going to do a local shop a lot of good.
Yeah.
Because the listeners are nationwide.
Yeah.
And David Brown came at me before I even told anybody I was going to do this. He was like, hey, I want to support your show. Like, I just want to support it. And I'm like,
awesome.
well, and I explained to him, like, well, dude, like, there's people that listen all over the fucking planet. Like, you know, a local shop like you isn't going to be able to benefit as much as somebody who can, like,
provide
something for everybody. And he was like, I don't care. I just want you to say my name once a week, you know, like, I want to give you money so that you can keep doing what you're doing. And I was just like, that's awesome. And that's, you know, one of the reasons I started MC Shop Tees was to highlight all the shops that I've run into that are doing rad stuff, that are keeping people on the road. You know, dealing with artists every month is another situation.
Yeah.
That becomes difficult. There's like a fine art in communicating with artists.
Yeah.
That I'm getting pretty good at, you know, and I'm finding some rad artists doing some really cool shirts. You know, I get videos from people like sending their kids to school and the shirts, and it's like, it's rad. Cool. And people are always like, why don't you put your name on them? Like, it's like everything I do with that business is like not business oriented.
Yeah, you're not redirecting the brand back to the brand.
There's no, like, there's people that don't listen to the podcast that are subscribers to MC Shop Tees, you know, that.
Yeah. Well, it's a cool concept because you never, I mean, you're like in your model for the thing, it's like you're pitching, it's like you're supporting every shop out there.
Yeah,
you
dude.
know?
And I got some really cool ideas that, you know, I'm trying to figure out how to make work. Like, the guy I modeled this business after, he does it with dive bars, and he sends the dive bars $500, dude, in a box of T-shirts. Right now, I just send out a box of T-shirts. But instead of sending the shops $500, like, wouldn't it be cool if I gave $500 to S&S, and then S&S gave the shop like $1,000 or $15 in product? You know, where the shop's mechanics, who, you know, you've seen the shop's mechanics bikes.
Yeah, they're always fucked.
They're just barely making it to work every day, right? Like, if S&S could put that, you know, product on the people who are like keeping other people on the road, like, what a great investment on their part. You know?
Because
like,
they're gonna relate.
because then those mechanics are gonna be like, dude, look, I just got this on my bike. It's great. You should put it on yours. So, you know, things like that. I'd like to get to a point where I could like bring all these shops together once a year. You know,
Yeah,
like,
I thought that was a cool idea too.
just some way where I could bring, you know, a couple employees from each shop to like have a Christmas party and let only the subscribers know where it's at, and do, you know, just growing the idea of, because, I mean, these shops that I feature, you know, some of them, not so much, some of them like appointment only, and they build specific parts. But the shops that I really want to feature are places like Brown's, that specialize in keeping everybody on the road. Yeah. I mean, because then what's better than riding, than just riding, you know, like, and I used to talk shit about people who didn't work on their own bikes, but not everybody has time to do that.
True.
You know, like, now I really appreciate the person that's like, whenever he's got time, he can ride his bike, you know, because he paid somebody like David Brown to keep his shit ready to roll.
Yeah, that's actually something I've been looking into is wanting to travel more on the bike and do more shit. Like I've actually considered getting into the idea of bringing on a sponsor that actually maintains my shit more or less.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I mean, I get it, man. You need those people to stay out there, and you got to try to get people to spend money with them so that they're there when you need them. Because even if you work on your own shit, there's going to be a time where you're going to need someone like Brown Cycles that has the tools that they have, the tire machine, or the ability to diagnose what's going on that's above your knowledge base. You know what I mean? So you need these shops to be out there, and if you're getting all your shit from Amazon, you're kind of cutting out them making $5 on that tire because you found it for $5 cheaper. You know, so what you're doing is really helping shine a light on these places so that somebody coming through Dallas now be like, fuck, man, I got this T-shirt that I got through this subscription. This shop's here somewhere. Let's go check them out.
Dude, people are making road trips to go see shops
That's
that
cool.
they get a T-shirt from. You're like, all they do is get a T-shirt and hear about them on my show, and they're making a 2,000-mile trip.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Just to go say what's up, check out my shirt. All right, I'm going back to the house.
Nice.
So, like, that's been the coolest thing is, like, just the people that I've met. And that's just, like, just being in the motorcycle industry, which I am now, which everybody here, or the majority, 99% of the people, they didn't get into motorcycle because they wanted to make money. You know, like, they didn't start a motorcycle business because the end goal was to get rich.
True.
They started it because they like riding motorcycles. So just being around other people that like riding motorcycles and doing something to help them out and give cool artwork to subscribers that like listening to my show. You know, like right now, that MC Shop Tees, the main thing it does is keep me going in the podcast. And I should put a lot more energy towards it, you know, like, fuck, I'm terrible at Instagram, you know, like.
Well, you did good. I remember you were talking about your sister had started her page, and y'all were in a race to hit 10,000.
Oh, she smoked me.
She smoked you?
Oh, fuck yeah. I
But
still got to run a 10K.
Yeah. Oh, you still have another 10K to do?
No, I still got to run a 10K.
Oh, shit. That was the goal, right?
Yeah. She wanted to. She won. She won by a long shot, dude. I didn't even, like. I still don't. I don't do anything to try. Yeah, my sister, she makes rad trucker hats.
Yeah.
She'll put anything on them. Mm-hmm. And she even says it. She set herself up perfectly, just like I would have done. She's like, I'll put anything slightly crooked on your trucker hat, you know? It's like, so it doesn't have to be straight, you know? Like, it's just going to be there. But, yeah, she's done some rad shit with the hat company.
Yeah.
And she's really good at the gram.
Yeah.
I use it as entertainment for myself, you know? I'm like, hey, check this out, or to show people where I'm at. Like, that's probably what I do. I definitely don't operate like most T-shirt companies where I like have a photo shoot every time I put out a new T-shirt.
Yeah.
I don't even do that. Like, I could at least, and all, like, look at this. I'm wearing one of my own shirts, but I'm not on camera. Every photo you've ever seen of me, I'm wearing a long sleeve Eli Cattleman button-down shirt.
Yeah.
Because that's my favorite shirt to ride in. Mm-hmm. This is a shop I featured, Madhouse Motors.
Have y'all started doing hoodies and shit?
No, this is just one of the hoodies they sent me.
Oh, that's cool.
After I featured them. Yeah, they're super rad. Rad group of people up there.
Yeah, that's actually pretty cool, man. So with the gram, doing the Instagram stuff, it's like I've actually pulled quite a bit back from doing it, like posting actual things, and focus more on the stories and stuff, kind of like what you were doing in Nepal and everything. And I don't know, like, I've been trying to not be on it as much. You know what I mean? With all the work and all the things that I'm trying to do, it's like you can have an idea and go on social media and scroll down, and then that idea can get like kind of watered down to you or lose interest in it. And so I've been trying to separate myself from too much incoming things. You know what I mean? And but no, I think that what you guys have been doing with the shop tees and the podcasts and bringing on sponsors to kind of help you do more with it, I think it's the right idea to do it. You just gotta, like, it's cool that you got Browns, because they kind of don't expect much of you. You know, I think that what you provide already is well worth people's time to sponsor you.
No, people are seeing it. You know, I'm not a good salesman for myself. Like,
yeah, but that makes you more honest and more of a salesman, because people will take your advice a lot more because they know you're not a good salesman. It's kind of like a reverse psychology situation.
I guess. I'm not trying to psychologize anybody.
Work with that one. Well, that's cool, man. So like I said, where they find all that stuff? mcshoptees.com?
DangerDanceTalkShop.com, MC Shop Tees. If you want to win a trip to Nepal,
That's what y'all are giving away now?
dude, we're giving away a trip to Nepal at the end of the year.
Making my Patreon look like shit, dude.
Thanks to Bear and
bro.
Booty. Dude, I mean, $5 a month. Like, I don't feel like, and this was my whole goal, is to like make it listener supported, where I give away rad shit to, you know, from people that just like my show. Like, Nick didn't jump on and start giving away a knife a month because he thought it was going to like launch his career. He just wanted to support what I was doing, and he couldn't give me money every month, so he was like, I'll give you a knife. But actually, Nick has been giving so much money every month through Patreon. I happened to look at his numbers the other day.
Yeah.
He's giving me more money than almost anybody, and we've given away like 26 knives.
Yeah.
And he's gone from doing knives part-time to
full-time.
You know, he's fucking killing it.
I've actually been wanting to have him on the podcast for a while now, and it's like every time I follow him and I see him doing something cool, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna wait till after this, and then we're gonna talk about this, and then another day, and then he's doing something else cool as shit. I'm like,
He doesn't stop doing cool shit.
Ever since he got a bike or on a bike, it's just been like nonstop fun watching that dude just enjoy it. Because I remember listening to him on your podcast before he got on a bike, and just he had the enthusiasm there, you know, before. And now that he's on, it's like cool to see that progression with him.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Stoked. He's fucking stoked.
Well, I like how you did your Patreon, and that's one thing that I've noticed with ours is trying to inspire people to support it.
Yeah,
like you give away things and you do a lot of stuff on there, which like your sponsors would almost be like Nick. Like instead of, hey, give me money, give me a product, I give it to them, and then it helps generate more income for the podcast. But our sponsors would come on, and the money that I kind of needed off top to kind of maintain it, it was hard to ask them for the money they had to pay me to do it, plus give me products to give away. And so it's just now getting to the point where instead of raising our prices for the podcast sponsorship, we keep them here and just get them to donate some shit. So we've been giving away stuff too as well. Yeah. So that's the only way to help grow it, man. But at the same time, I try not to look at the Patreon as like a source of income, because literally, dude, I'll say the wrong thing on this motherfucker and go from sitting okay to lots of money gone. Like, people are like, fuck this dude, he's a dumbass, or I ain't fucking with this guy anymore. And it's like, I was like, oh shit, like I can literally fuck myself if I was counting on that to pay something like the rent or something, which I'm nowhere close to being able to do that. But just if I had to count on that for actual livelihood bills and I said the wrong thing, it'd be done.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but yeah, it's awesome.
Fucking $5 a month.
Yeah.
Every $5 gives you a chance to go to Nepal. I mean, that is pretty fucking, like, even when I say that, I
feel like
that is fucking
right
cool as shit, dude. Like, I mean, that trip to Nepal, like, I mean, I went, I know what the experience was like, but knowing that somebody's going to get to go to Nepal for fucking $5.
Yeah.
Come on, dude. Like,
so if you sponsor me for $5, then we are going to give you some T-shirts.
Yeah, I don't even give away any MC Shop tees. Yeah. I should, though.
Yeah.
No, but I give away a knife every month. So, like, if you just want to donate $1, which I feel like, you know, $1 a month, right? I'm putting out at least 4 shows a month. That's a quarter for at least an hour of entertainment.
Yeah.
Quality entertainment. I'm not even going to say that. But there's content, you know, like an hour of content. That's pretty good, right?
Yeah, I agree.
And you got a chance of winning a knife. Lowbrows kicked in a bunch of stuff. Dude, lowbrow, high seas jerky. We give away jerky. I try not to give away the jerky.
Yeah, you eat it
all. So fucking good, dude. Last time he gave me a bunch to give away, I literally ate almost all of it and had to call him up and be like, we got to do something else. Like, I can't. I'm not going to give this shit away. I'm not going to give it away.
What you'd have to do is, like, get him to give it away. Like,
no, we did start doing that. I'm like, all right.
That's what I did,
here's
too.
the address, and I just tell him my address or my neighbor's address.
Yeah.
So that he does send it to me, even though he thinks he's giving it away.
Yeah, I just got with my sponsors, and I asked them, I was like, hey, when we do this giveaway, I call it a care package. I'm like, just put whatever you want in there, whatever you want to give away to them. I don't want to know what it is, because I don't want to try to market it. Like, you're getting this from Booster Brad, you're getting this from Lexan. Whatever ends up being is cool. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to.
So you're not giving away a trip to Nepal? Oh, no, I'm just fucking with you. But the thing is like, I really don't want people to donate just for the trip. You know, like, I want them to, like the giveaway. I gave away a bike last year, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't do it. You didn't see me blasting on Instagram like, hey, win this bike for $5.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want just anybody signing up. I wanted somebody who listened to the show and heard all the stories about me, you know, beating the fuck out of that bike last year. Like, I wanted somebody to be stoked to get that bike. And the guy who won, this guy named Ralph Fury out of Miami, it was exactly what I wanted. It was some dude that listened to the show from the get-go, heard all the stories about everything I did to that bike, and we're like making jokes about all the shit he has to fix when he gets it, you know? Like, and he was stoked. Like, that's, you know, that's what I want.
Yeah, that's cool about it. And that's what, you know, thinking about it, I don't want to get people that come on and are just doing it for that, but I just want to give that extra incentive, right?
Yeah.
Because I really want them to know that same thing with you and yours is the same thing with us, is like that money helps create these kind of places that we're in now, or they help us go with this trip. Like, we use the Patreon money for gas to put in the car so me and my wife could go to San Diego. You know what I mean? And that was able to give us the last 5 podcasts that we're putting out. You know what I mean? So showing them that that's what this money's going for, I think is good. Now, if you were doing the same thing, if we were like getting this money and then I'm getting in my brand new Hellcat downstairs, you know, using that money, which I guess it doesn't matter what I use it for, but
dude, my listeners would be fucking stoked if I had a Hellcat.
I don't know if mine would,
because I would jump it would
you'd fuck it up.
Yeah, I'd just fuck it up, man. But you can actually see where your money's going. Look at these sweet mic stands. You got cameras.
Yeah.
They look at my shit and they're like, he's using the same fucking microphones that he bought before he ever even started the podcast.
You are really?
Yeah.
Damn.
No, I bought those
labs.
Yeah, but they suck, really.
Yeah.
The 57 is so Rode. This is like the competition for the SM7B, right? This is what they put out.
Dude, $100 a piece, man.
The SM7 the SM7B is what they call it now. Dude, that microphone's like 40 years old.
And it's
like, the same exact. Like, they've changed a few things. That's why they call it the 7B.
Yeah.
But it's the same microphone they made in like the fucking 60s. It's like 60 years old. Jimi Hendrix Janis Joplin recorded her vocals on those microphones.
For real?
Same microphone like Rogan uses for his podcast. But it's also the same guts as the 57 that I use. And the 57's tougher. It's not as big. It takes up less space.
And the 57, I thought those were more like drum mics or something like that.
Dude, it's the same microphone. They just, you know, it's more of a direct.
Yeah, like a shotgun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that mic's like $400 fucking dollars. Not the one you're talking about, but the SM7B.
Yeah.
And so when I was looking at doing these microphones, they had came out with this audio mixer over here, the Rode, and it has like all kinds of shit in it, so it cancels a lot of like low noise out and things like that, which help the audio out. But these and this made a big difference. But just these 4 mics and these stands was like $800 something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I don't want to like take these off and put them in my saddlebag and fuck them up on the trip, even though they were only $100 a piece. It's still like I want to buy some nicer lav mics so I can wrap it around my little Zoom, throw it in the saddlebag, take it, you know, be able to throw the thing on the table, put a mic on your shirt, put a mic on my shirt, and have a conversation on the trips. But I don't want to take this studio down and move it, you know, across town. You know what I mean? Like I've been getting that a lot lately. Like, hey man, let's do the podcast. When you come into Houston, I'm like, dude, I built a fucking studio, bro. Come the fuck here. Like, well, it's not that hard. Like,
they're gonna as soon as they realize they have to be on camera, they're gonna be like, nah, I'm cool, bro.
Well, they don't have to. I don't have to do the camera thing, but I'm like,
have you gotten any like response to that where people are like, I don't really want to be on video? I guess you just started doing this.
Yeah, just started this, but I think the video is going to work great for certain shops that maybe have something to promote. You know what I mean? Like
that don't have a face for radio.
I definitely don't have a face for this, but say if you made a product and you want to come out and we talk about you and your brand, but
and
then
it's just sitting here like my community coffee cup.
Exactly. We're like, so how does this work?
Check out Community Coffee, dude. From the heart of New Orleans.
Monsters.
Yeah, that's the next thing is you're going to get companies like Monster and Topo Chico wanting to sponsor you, dude.
I honestly, like, I've been
drinking water out of a Monster can.
I've been reached out to by some pretty decent sized companies, but the thing is, like with my sponsors, what I've been trying to keep it with is that I want the people that sponsor me to be brands, products, and services that my listeners can use.
Yeah.
You know, like, yes, I could probably get a lot of money having a Russ Brown or Allstate Insurance or somebody like that coming on but it's not a direct product that I think that people can use.
Everybody has motorcycle insurance.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, what the only difference between that one and this one is basically the rates that their computer's saying is a good rate right now.
Yeah, but if you know, and I used to feel this way too, but like now, Progressive sponsored the Super Hooligan race last year.
Yeah.
Like all the races. I'm like, well, fuck. If Progressive's putting, like, if I pay a little bit more for Progressive insurance, but I know that they're spending some of that money on keeping motorcycle racing alive.
Yeah, there's that for sure.
It's like, well, okay, what if a company's keeping Jace doing the podcast? I would, and there's options. This is one of those businesses where I gotta put my money somewhere.
Yeah.
This business is supporting a guy that I listen to once a week. I'm more likely to go spend my money with him.
Yes. So I would associate it to the same as your MC Shop Tees deal, right? Like you're trying to support people on the ground level.
Yeah.
And right now with our podcast where it's at, I think that it's the perfect thing for people at the ground level. Like, be realistic. Like in the motorcycle industry, like if any of us were ever to get to where we're doing 100,000 downloads a month, that would be like equivalent to like Joe Rogan million download numbers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and at that point, yes, I think that the amount that the sponsorships will be worth would be something you would have to reach out to those bigger corporations like a Harley or a Progressive to get sponsorship because you have large numbers to sell to. But, 20, 25,000 people or downloads, not even people, just downloads. I mean, that's something that's perfectly viable for, a Brown Cycles or a John Jessup or, Lexan Moto, something that's more ground level products and customer base type stuff versus this big, massive thing. So my goal is to kind of keep it that way for as long as I can. And then once this podcast grows to a point where it is worth, $1,000 a fucking, spot, then I'm going to have to reach out to companies that have that kind of advertisement money, but still try to have some kind of, find a company that has the integrity that I think is worth bringing to the audience. That way it's not like we're doing Harbor Freight ads. You know what I mean? Like I don't want it to become like the magazines did where you're cutting it out from the people that really do support you to go to these other people. And then when Harley decides they don't want to do it anymore, but we're used to getting $2,000 an episode or a month for a sponsorship, now I got to go find someone else to fill that void versus staying I guess humble would be the word, and sticking with the people that are paying the $500-600 a month, helping us do this stuff. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't want so much of my livelihood to be in the hands of one company, if that makes sense. So, and I don't think I'd get super. I don't know. If I was making $10,000 a month doing podcasts, dude, I'd be a fucking douchebag, dude. Straight up. I'd have a Hellcat. I'd have a nice ass house. I don't know. I'd be ridiculous. I have to ease my way into fame, dude. I can't just do it overnight. You know what I mean?
I thought you were already making $10,000 a month on podcasts.
Fuck no, dude. I wish.
Come on, bro.
I wouldn't even do this if I made $10,000 a month.
How could you build this place we're in right now and not be making $10,000 a month?
The only way I was able to build this is deposits for paint jobs, sponsorship money, and rad ass friends that helped me do it. Straight up. And I had an opportunity in December to go out of town, and I made a lot of money painting 2 bikes, and I was able to come back and drop all that money on this. And so, yeah, I mean, we're just now. So, like, coming next month will be the first time, realistically, all of our sponsorships and Patreon money, I could actually use it to 100% go on a bike trip somewhere to create some kind of content versus, like, we took $300 out of our sponsorship and our Patreon in January to go to California to pay for gas. And, of course, we going out there, she has family, so we didn't have to pay for any places to stay. So that helps out. And that's why people keep asking me, like, hey, when are you going to come to Chicago? I'm like, man, I don't fucking have any family in Chicago. So everything about going to Chicago costs a lot of money versus we go to L.A. all the time because we have – not only do I have a lot of close friends there, but we have her aunt, her dad, her brother. Like, everybody lives from San Diego all the way to Ventura. We have a place to stay within 10 miles of the fucking ocean.
You want to hear a funny story about Chicago?
Let's go.
So I did a sick-ass road show last year
Uh-huh.
I went from Cleveland, Ohio, the Fuel Cleveland show.
Yeah.
And rode to the X Games and then over to Sturgis.
I remember that, yeah.
Sick fucking trip, right? And going through Chicago, my fucking headlight went out. So I'm like pulling up into Chicago and I'm riding like an asshole, dude. Like straight up, splitting lanes, going faster than everybody and passing people very
Aggressively.
Yeah, I was riding like a dick, dude.
Yeah.
Big time. And then I realized and I get in that zone and then I fucking slow down for a second. I was like, dude, I need to chill out and get into Chicago. And then all of a sudden this car sped past me like within inches, dude. Almost took me out. And I just assumed it was somebody I passed just like that a minute ago that caught up to me and passed me the same way. But then I realized that they didn't have any lights on and they were swerving around because they were fucked up. Like they just happened to not hit me,
Yeah.
So I get off at the gas station, fill up gas. I'm like, I need to get some gas in here. That way I can ride all the way through Chicago because I'm going to visit my buddy Al and his girl Lulu. They had a campsite set up on Lake Michigan.
Nice.
So I was trying to get there. Fill up, get back on the road. Sun's going down. I realize that I don't have a headlight, And I'm like, I don't want to stop in Chicago and try and fix my headlight and then find out that, like, I need something. I don't have everything I need to fix it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'll just ride it out. So next thing I'm like riding through downtown Chicago with no fucking headlight. And it's dark out. But, in the cities, the road is lit up. So, like, I can see where I'm going, but nobody can see me coming up from behind them, which was pretty fucking sketchy. But I made it all the way through downtown or all the way through Chicago until, like, where I was going to the lake, the highway ended, and there was no lights. And I had to finally just pull over because I was riding just behind the person in front of me. My brakes aren't really good enough to do that, so I pulled over and, like, rewired it, and it was fine.
An easy fix.
It was an easy fix, but I didn't want to chance being like.
Have you been like towards like New York and all shit yet?
Not on my bike.
Just like doing the music stuff back in the day, maybe.
Yeah, we played in New York, do Connecticut, Vermont. Dude, I need to get up there this year. I was thinking about doing the Transcontinental Trail over. I don't know. There's so much to do.
It's think about it, man. Like we're looking at going, South America, Nepal, all this shit, but like there's still so many rad ass spots in America that needs to get hit up and exploited,
Do we get everything on your list?
I think so.
Damn, that was a bunch of notes, dude. All right, DangerDanceTalkShop.com. Jace, thanks for having me on your show. Your setup's rad. You're like the fucking motorcycle Joe Rogan.
I'm trying.
Oh, my gosh, dude. Legit microphones. You didn't make me wear headphones. I'm glad.
You don't like wearing headphones?
Fuck no, I don't like wearing headphones.
I appreciate you getting me into this, man. I appreciate all the help you gave me when I started. Yeah. And, I appreciate it because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for thanking me. I'm glad that it worked out for you.
Yeah, we're here. So
let's do it again.
All right. Peace.